Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
What's up, everyone? How's it going? There we go. That's better. Happy Thursday. Haven't done a show on a Thursday in a little while, but it's a special occasion, I guess, because we've got a special old friend of the channel here. Old friend at this point. It's been too long. But we've got Juan Ayala back in action. What's up, Juan?
I'm actually an AI created by the Floridian government. I'm not even real, bro.
Wait, hang on, is that Mind Unveiled? Sounds like Mind Unveiled. Just kidding.
I gotta protect my identity, bro. I can't. Damn, why is it so close? Yo.
Damn, bro.
So close like that, dude. Don't do
that.
that.
Yeah, bro. We got that nostril cam.
There you go. Much better. There you go.
That's better. That's proportionate to
I haven't messed, like, all my stuff is dusty, bro. I forgot how to use everything. My camera's all in the wrong place, but we're making it work. And it was good to be back, dude. I'm happy to be here. It is a Thursday, right? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Juan.
Yeah, dude.
It's good to have you back. The people have been, begging for you to be back. So
I don't know about that, but
no, they have. Yeah, that's for real.
Well, happy to be back, dude. And it was about time. Let's dip our toes back in, talk some Florida history. My nipples are ready.
Hell yeah. Speaking of nips, just kidding. But what have you been up to, man? Let the people know.
It's been working. I got my contractor's license, and I just been doing that, just developing. I'm the problem in Florida, bro. Just developing, and killing Florida. Off the wildlife, the wetlands. I'm part of the problem.
Leaving the parking lots pristine, just going right for the vegetation and the
concrete jungle,
wildlife.
Yeah. Speaking of wildlife, I want to talk about, right, we're going to be talking about a bunch of things today, but the gopher tortoises, right? We're going to be talking about that. The gopher wood. We're gonna go deep. We're gonna go deep today. You had brought up some connections. You had finally answered me back because you were dodging my texts, not picking up my phone calls. I had to call you like 33 times for you to pick up, and then you picked up and you're like, "Hey, I got all this stuff."
Join the club, sweetie.
oh, my bad, dude. Didn't know. What is it? My 50,000. Is it 70 something thousand now? What is it? 76? Damn, dude.
Oh,
I remember, bro, when you had less than 1,000 subs.
I know, you were the first one to take a chance on me.
Yeah, bro.
The first show I ever did was Juan's show, guys.
Yeah.
First guest appearance ever.
Yeah. Damn, dude. How time flies.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to be back, man. Happy to be here with you and ready to chop it up.
Yeah, man. This is a topic that you're the man for, because we all know Juan is the homunculist. I like homunculist. If we're gonna revamp the channel, or maybe go with homunculist, it rolls off the tongue a little better.
Yeah, I know you never liked the homunculologist. It doesn't roll off the tongue that well, right?
It's a lot, but
it's not something I'm proud of, though. Like, looking back at some of the stuff that I've talked about, it's like, damn. But yeah, it is all right.
Hey, man, John Dee was talking about pretty much the same stuff, and he rose to the height of British society. But all right, let's get into it. Who are we talking about tonight? We're talking about John Dee. Who is John Dee? Well, most of you probably know him because you watch little esoteric YouTube channels and stuff like that. But John Dee was the private astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I of Britain. He was British. I don't know if he was English or where he was born, but he claimed Welsh ancestry. So that's very important. John
He was
Dee.
born in London, in England. He was English.
Thank you. Thank you. His family, he claimed, was Welsh, that he went back to Welsh nobility. But John Dee was your kind of quintessential archetypal wizard. Some say he set the like wizard cliche, right? The caricature of a wizard with the robes, the long beard. But he was a young man once, and he was a friend of Queen Elizabeth, or ran in similar circles. And he got started as a kind of her friend. He did a astrology chart for her, casting her future, kind of looking at whether she would be queen or not, and what her reign would look like. And based off the information he gave Queen Elizabeth, she really liked it. She liked what she heard. She thought that his advice was, invaluable. So she kept him around. And when she became queen, she welcomed him into the court, and he was often by her side. When it came to like military, foreign policy and geopolitics and all that, John Dee eventually became her like spy master. And he is said to have operated a spy network across Europe. And that's sometimes, some people believe that's what ceremonial magic really was, that all this alchemy, blah, 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 was really just like a 5D chess that was
The
really
OG intelligence.
It was intelligence operations, like, oh yes, let this mysterious man into your castle to produce gold out of thin air for you. Well, actually, he's a spy, right? Things like that did happen back then. And John Dee is said to be the original 007. That's the origin of the James Bond 007 thing. John Dee allegedly signed off in some of those intelligence papers 007. And the 007 was kind of like monocles or like reading glasses being held up over eyes, or someone like this, like 007, something like that, 007, or
two balls, one cane.
That's another thing. Yep, 2 balls, 1 cane. These guys had a dirty mind too. Lots of dick jokes. When John Dee, Francis Bacon, William Shakespeare, a lot of dick jokes across that community. But John Dee was a trusted advisor to Queen Elizabeth, and that's the most important part that we're going to be talking about tonight.
Did you know that 007 had a tarot book?
No.
Yeah, apparently there was a James Bond 007 tarot deck at one point, right, which kind of plays into that. And one of the things that I've always found interesting about, right, the occult and alchemy and all these things, where it's, what was it all bullshit, or were they actually talking to angels and demons? Were they actually invoking these entities, or was it all a facade, right, for what you're saying, intelligence gathering? And just, what a better way than, hey, your personal astrologer, he's there every day, he's watching over you. We've all seen Game of Thrones, right? The guy, is it the eunuch that kind of has the little birds?
Varys, I think his name is Varys.
Yeah, he's got all the connections, and he knows all the gossip and everything. So that's one of the things I've always thought about, where these guys really tapped into something.
That's why trans baristas like to gossip so much. They have that ancient eunuch blood memory of like being
the Timucuans, remember the dual-sided people, the transmissions, they were the ones that would interact. with the world of the living and the world of the dead. So they were able to go in because the Temuquans believed that if you interacted with impurity, you would become impure yourself. And the one people that could tend to the corpses and all these different things were the
The
is it
two spirits.
she males? Yeah, the whatever
Two
you want,
spirits.
the lady boys of the Timucuan people, and
Yeah.
they had their place in society. So there's something to be said about that part
Yeah.
that is, interesting. But I've always thought about, like, were these guys actually doing something, or is it all just LARPing and role play at the end of the day? Which, I mean, we can get into that because some of the things that you brought up with Joseph Smith and John Dee, and I think you mentioned one more guy in there too at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
the Cherokee.
yeah. Well, here, let's give an overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. This is going to be all about John Dee, and not many people know that John Dee actually spoke about Florida. He wrote about Florida, he cared about Florida, and he used Florida as kind of like an argument, or he used Florida to stake a claim over North America for Britain, a British claim over North America. So we'll get to that in a sec. Don't read that just quite yet, Juan. But essentially, we're going to be talking about John Dee, what he said about Florida, why he cared about it, what he wanted to get out of it, like what it would mean if Britain would have Florida, right? John Dee and some of his friends had great plans for the Americas, a great vision of what the Americas would become, and I think you'll be surprised how close we've come to his vision. But in talking about John Dee and talking about Florida, like why he cared about Florida, it's going to bring us to the story of Prince Madoc, who was an old Welsh prince who lived, 1,000 years ago or so. Yeah, 900, 800, roughly 850 years ago ish, around there. And Prince Madoc was an old Welsh prince who allegedly sailed with a fleet over across the Atlantic Ocean in search of. They're mainly escaping from political, unrest in Britain, but they were also, like Saint Brendan and maybe even King Arthur, they were likely searching for the Celtic Otherworld. People know what Avalon is. Another name for it is Annavin. Avalon. This is like almost like the Celtic Garden of Eden, paradise, and the Garden of Eden. It has a little bit of a future element to it, but definitely like a past and origin story. And you hear about Avalon being this mythical place. Well, a lot of people think that was just a little island off the coast of Britain, Glastonbury, or somewhere over there, right? Somewhere close to the British Isles. Well, other people believe Avalon was very far across the Atlantic Ocean. In fact, the name means away or afar or over there, across the other side. So yeah, another name was Annwyn, Annwyn, I think. But so yeah, we're going to talk about how Avalon played, was like a motivation for these people crossing the Atlantic, and how there's another name for that topic, for that place, this mythical place. There's another name that is very, very close to one of the names here in Florida. So a little bit of a reveal later on, but
Yeah, so Avalon, right? A legendary mythical island in Arthurian mythology, best known as a magical place where King Arthur was taken to heal after his final battle and where he is said to remain. It is often described as an island of apples,
yep.
derived from the Celtic word for apple, abal, associated with healing and immortality. So again, almost like a Garden of Eden sort of thing, which the whole reason this conversation came up was because I had talked to you about that site in Turkey where they recently did some ground penetrating, they were penetrating the ground there, and they said that they found something that looks like corridors and things, and it's the site where they believe Noah's Ark is at.
Mhm.
Uh, and so as of May 2026, researchers investigating the Duru Pinar site in Turkey near Mount Ararat have
Mhm.
reported new ground penetrating radar scans revealing subsurface corridors and chambers consistent with man-made structures. So again, people have tried to debunk this and they've talked about it before, and there's been studies and blah 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 where you can have apologetics and things that are involved in there. But one of the things I had mentioned to you was in the Bible, it's very clear, it talks about gopher wood, and the only place gopher wood is at is near where?
Yeah.
The Florida and Georgia border, the FAG line, as I like to call it.
Yep.
That's where it's found.
The Florida, Alabama, Georgia zone, the FAG zone.
The FAG zone,
And
that's
just
right.
spell that out with us, folks. We're honing in on the FAG region,
Right.
southeasternmost United States.
Nobody cares about the panhandle of Florida anyways, right? I mean, that's like we don't consider that Florida. Like Florida is like central Florida. You can draw a line across from Tampa all the way over to the other side, and then there's just like there's nothing up there. It's just a make believe land. It's the island of apples up there. Nobody talks about North
Well,
Florida.
yeah, we're kind of moving along a little faster than I'd hope, but
No, go ahead, do your
basic,
thing. I'm excited to be here. I'm trying to kill this fly in my room.
um, these names for Avalon. Another one was Appalach. Appalach. Now that might ring a bell for some people. Okay, we'll revisit Appalach. Hang on. So gopherwood only grows along the Apalachicola River, named for the Appalachian Indians, which is where we get the word for the Appalachian Mountains, Appalachia. So when the Celtic people have this, their version of the Garden of Eden is across the Atlantic Ocean, westward. And the Welsh are calling that Appalach. I mean, how close is that to Appalachia? Which did you know that America was almost named Appalachia? Yep. They were
What?
going to rename America Appalachia
There's
in the
no way.
1700s and then again in the 1800s. They're going to rename it. Yeah, look it up.
Appalachia what?
Just search was America almost named Appalachia.
Appalachia. Hold on. Appalachia. I gotta fact check you, bro. I know this is the old world Florida, but we
So,
like to stretch things out here, but
America is very close to a word that the Egyptians and the Canaanites used, Amaru, which was close to Amorite, like when we say Amorite today. Amuru, America. So I guess we went with that one, but it was almost Appalachia. So Appalachia is like the name for the eastern United States, pretty much. Just scroll down; it'll talk about the renaming.
here?
Yeah, just keyword search rename. Yeah,
Oh
proposal.
wow, dude.
Yeah,
In 1839, Washington, or who's this guy?
yeah. Zoom in on it. Hit the command key and zoom in.
I
Hit
know
the
how to
kit.
operate a computer, dude. All
You
right. I
sure?
haven't forgotten that much.
Do they have computer trees in Puerto Rico?
No, there's no power in Puerto Rico, bro. So you know. All right. In 1839, Washington Irving proposed to rename the United States Allegheny, okay,
Alleghenia.
Alleghenia or Appalachia in place of America, since the latter name belonged to Latin America too. Edgar Allan Poe later took up the idea and considered Appalachia a much better name than America. And he thought it better to find the United States as a distinct geographical entity separate from the rest of the Americas. And he also thought it did honor to both Irving and the natives after whom the Appalachian Mountains had
Yeah.
been named.
Now
Edgar Allan
search
Poe, out of all people,
this. This is crazy, right?
is wild.
So now search Appalach, Affallach. Just go to that Wikipedia. I think it has a Wikipedia. Appalach. Look at this, folks. I mean, come on. America is the paradise spoken about in Celtic mythology, Greek mythology, the Bible. This is the
Oh, dude, I just
birth.
got. I was trying to think of like why the apple tree in the Garden of Eden, like that. You know, like
Yeah, exactly. And it
I was
wasn't it. The word apple is a generic word that meant all fruit, with the exception of berries, up until kind of recently. Apples, as we know them today, come from Turkey, if I'm not mistaken, or Kazakhstan over there.
apples,
Um, but all fruit were known as apples, with the
Kazakhstan.
with the exception of berries. So when they say apple, all the different variations of apple, apfel, apple in Europe, all meant just, that could mean pomegranate, that could mean peach, like a big fig or a plum or something. Apple just meant fruit before.
So here's the thing, Narco. Do you think that they like how could they have known? And in the Bible, does it specifically say apple or does it say fruit? Don't eat from the fruit of.
It says fruit.
Okay,
Apples are mentioned later on by name in the English Bible, but not in the Garden of Eden. It's
which
just fruit. But
let's
still,
also.
I'll take it. Fruit means apple, and apple means fruit. Both of these have pretty much nothing to do with the conventional apple we eat today.
And if
Just
we make the connection too, right? We're talking about the Bible as well. King James was around when John Dee and all these other guys were around as well,
mhm,
right? So the King James version of the Bible, which
yeah.
I like to call it the homoerotic version. I know you don't like when I say
No.
that, but right, some people believe that it is the actual word of God and they only strictly read the King James version.
Yeah, me. That's me. Yeah.
So again, and doesn't the
Here, we can get to that. But
well, what's the other story that you've also talked about with the golden, is it the golden apple or something like that in mythology? Which one is it? Because you've brought that one up
yeah.
before.
So the Bible has the Garden of Eden with one tree, one couple, a snake around the tree, and magical fruit. With in Greek mythology, there's a couple different like paradises, but the one closest to the Garden of Eden, which is probably where we get the word paradise, is the Garden of Hesperides.
Mm.
Hesperides was synonymous with Atlantides. So this was like the Garden of Atlantis almost, or the Garden of the princesses of Atlantis, or the goddesses of Atlantis. The
The immortal golden apples, yeah.
the Hesperides were the Hesperides. Here's zoom in a little more so people can see. Yeah, the text.
Careful, this is the AI overview, bro.
Yeah, I mean that's right. Hesperides, probably where we get the word paradise. And instead of one couple, they had, like a group of women, and Hercules engaged with, interacted with these women in one of his myths. Prometheus, sorry, not Prometheus, Atlas was not far off from this garden. He was connected to this myth as well. Atlantides get their name from Atlas, Atlas, Atlantis, Atlantides.
Mm.
So basically, with the Hesperides, the Garden of Hesperides, what we see there is like the intersection between the biblical Garden of Eden and Atlantis, the story of Atlantis. Now, when we go to Appalachia, Florida, who knows why Atlanta is a major city today? It's not
Is
on
it
the
on the
ocean.
33rd? Is it on the 33rd?
I don't know what the degree is, but it's because there are two major rivers that um, originate near Atlanta.
Oh, it's close.
It's
Oh, it is.
the Chattahoochee and the Flint River. Those two rivers are the two major rivers that then come down into the Garden of Eden area at Apalachicola. So the Apalachicola River is what those two rivers flow into. They converge into the Apalachicola. So that's why Atlanta is on the map. If those rivers weren't there, Atlanta would have no significance. There's no reason to stop there or make it a major hub. It's those rivers that start there, flow down, converge into the Apalachicola, and then expel into the Gulf of America. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, so people can see that. Thank you. Yeah, that pink one's perfect. At the top there, that's Atlanta, where the two rivers come back together. At the bottom there is the Garden of Eden, where they converge. That's what we're talking about, and that is Appalachia. That's real, the Apalachicola, where the Appalachian Indians lived, for who the Appalachian Mountains are named. And I think that's Appalach, the land of apples. What are the odds that the Indians believed this area was sacred? William Bartram went through this area, pretty close to this area, and said it was the most magical place on earth.
That's Disney World.
Okay.
That's Disney World now.
Well, still. But, all right. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Can you go back to John Dee Wikipedia, please?
Yes. So also I wanted to bring up the connection between right, so we're talking about this. It's interesting. Atlanta, Atlantis, Francis Bacon, New Atlantis, this utopia. These
Yep.
guys, I want to say that they were the, I guess you would call them the globalists of their time, right? They wanted a new world order. They wanted it, but
Yeah.
more ruled by religion, not so much
Kind of.
technology.
They were kind of the underdog, though. You know,
You think
England was like the new kid on the block. British power was not a worldwide factor or a threat. You know, it was after John Dee and the King James Bible is what turned them into an empire. By the way, John Dee is the first man. He's the man credited with coining the term British Empire. John Dee envisioned Britain taking over the world. Now, we see Britain today as like having already taken over the world, like they're old news now. But for them, that was new. They were stepping up to the plate. France was the big kid on the block. The Holy Roman Empire was the big kid on the block. So England was making a name for themselves, and John Dee assisted in that. So it's easy to say, like, they were the social engineers of their day. That's true. They were doing propaganda and social engineering, but I'm grateful for it. Would you rather have the French have done that and taken over the world? Would you
No.
rather the Turks have done that and taken over the world? No. And John Dee was actually acting out like biblical prophecy. He was a very pious man.
Well, he was one of the things I want to point out, right? Francis Bacon, we can go down that rabbit hole, and John Dee. And it's interesting because they met at Dee's home in Mortlake, where a 21-year-old Bacon sought knowledge on gematria. Right.
Yep.
So these two knew each other. And, you have the whole conspiracies with Francis Bacon
Yeah.
and that whole thing and the King James version of the Bible. But also, I want to point out that John Dee, because I have, I don't know if you can see it, but I have somewhere back there. I have his magical journals, right? It's like a tome, like huge. And
Yeah,
one of
me
the
too.
things that he wanted to do was he actually wanted to unite the world under like a one world religion, right? The Christian Kabbalah. Like he wanted that. And like that's what he believed that these entities who he thought were angels were telling him to do. That's why he went to Rudolph II and was like, hey, we were sent here by these entities, angels that we've been talking to, and they're telling us that you're actually possessed by demons. They told that to like one of the most powerful men at that time,
Yeah,
right? This emperor. They went in front of him, and thankfully, he was a very, very a
he
special
was
guy. He had
superstitious. He was
yes, very
superstitious too.
superstitious. He had collection. He was super into the occult. He he had I think he liked to collect midgets or something like that. You ever hear that story where
Yeah,
he liked
he had like a whole he had like
he started
squad,
the midget porn
a
industry. Like he
whole
was the
team of
first one.
he had like a whole team of butlers that were midgets. So like certain types of parties, like all the workers would be like midgets. And some people say like, yeah, he probably had them
A
have sex
fetish.
and stuff like that. But he was a notorious for being like he was almost like Ripley's Believe It or Not. Like he had like the Ripley's Castle at in St. Augustine, where it's like all the collected weird shit from the world.
Cabinet of
He
Curiosities.
Yes, he had one of those. He was famous for just uh collecting everything eclectic. That's why when we say the word bohemian, something's strange, weird, eclectic, that kind of goes back to him
The
a
Kunstkammer,
little
bro. That's what it was called. The Kunstkammer, the Cabinet of Curiosities in Prague. I want to go to Prague one day, dude. That's like one of my things on my bucket list to visit Prague, go to the Alchemist
bit.
Alley. And I think that's a magical, magical place. So, yeah, he was one of the first ones to all the trinkets. These were some of the paintings that he had, but these are some of the depictions of all the stuff that he just had displayed.
Yeah.
And
People
yeah, just a
say
lot of
he
trinkets.
people say he had like dinosaur bones, like UFO, like scraps, like chunks of UFO ships and shit like that. Like everything weird that had ever been found in Central Europe made it into his little, collection.
Hmm.
But here, go back to John Dee Wikipedia for a sec. Oh, see the crocodile up there?
Yeah, I'm gonna point that
Most
out.
most like alchemists had a crocodile like stuffed in their laboratory because back in the south of Spain, France, Italy, and probably even over there, like Eastern Europe too. Not alligators, crocodiles used to make it up from Africa. They used to cross the ocean every once in a while, make it into a city, and then get slayed by some hero. And that's what inspired a lot of the dragon stories too. They're just crocodiles from Africa. So we saw it. One of those pictures had a crocodile in it. So,
Yeah, they'd be huge back then. I mean,
oh
you go
yeah,
to the Everglades now, and some of the alligators you see are giant. So I can't even imagine like an uncharted Florida in its prime. The size of those gators, it'd
oh
be
yeah.
wild, bro. Yes.
So John Dee, we said a little bit about him at the beginning, but he's a wizard. He's an astrologer. He's a genius mathematician turned magician. That's how I like to describe him. Mathematician turned magician. And he worked for Queen Elizabeth. Was employed by her for a time. Eventually leaves. He's warned by the angels that he's talking to through. He has a small crystal ball, like a pretty tiny crystal ball. It's like smaller than a tennis ball. Then he had another stone that was actually from America. It was an obsidian mirror. So he had
Aztec obsidian mirror.
an Aztec mirror, and then he also had this little uh, stone called the shoe stone. Now these were very similar, not very similar, but similar in function to what Joseph Smith would end up using
Hmm.
when he received the Reformed Egyptian alphabet or the Reformed Egyptian language and his angelic conversations with Moroni and um,
Which I believe that was one of the names of one of the angels, the little girl that John Dee and Edward Kelly were talking to. Which it's weird
It wasn't
because
Moroni. It was close. It was Medimi.
Madimi, yes, you're correct. You're correct.
Medimi. It was close.
Which is it's a weird story because like when you read the story, I can't believe they haven't made this into a movie yet, bro. And I would pay to get this turned into because the story of John Dee and Edward Kelly is so wild. The things that they were doing and the things that were happening. And by the way, the the smoked egg that he had, this little thing here, I believe he said an angel gave him. I think it was Angel Gabriel or something like that had given it to him
Yeah.
one night in his house in Mortlake. So again, this guy
No,
was
that was the shoe stone.
it the shoe stone?
Yeah, the little ball, I believe.
One of those. Anyways, one of those.
This
Who
one
cares?
he got from Francis Drake or someone like that, like some navigator who brought it back. Because this was like cutting edge. Remember this, the Spanish only make it to Mexico like 1500, 1510, like the same time as Florida. Within 40 years, or 50, 60 years of that, John Dee already has this magnificent artifact from Mexico in England. Like they barely even had corn, turkey, like tobacco, the things that they like everyone needed and everyone wanted. So the fact that he got this Aztec obsidian mirror is extraordinary. That in itself is almost a miracle that it made it across the Atlantic into his hands. Some
This
people
one.
say, yeah,
According to John Dee's own accounts, the angel Uriel gave him a clear, slightly purple rock crystal, often described as a crystal ball or shoe stone, in November 1582, to act as a tool for communicating with the spirits. So
I've actually got my shoe stone right here. Allegedly, you
I got
said
some shoe stones for you right here, bro, that you can rub until the future.
you said purplish. Some people say that it was smoky quartz.
Yeah, right here.
Smoky quartz with rutilated quartz. So
Oh
smoky
wow,
rutilated quartz. Yeah, you can see the root. Here, let's see.
that's cute. Look at you, you little magician. Look at you.
Hey guys, we're unboxing this new shoe stone from the angel Uriel.
Is your butt plug made of the same material, bro? Like in the I know the sacral chakra is very important when it
Here,
comes to this sort of work.
let me see if I can get it to focus. You see the little like strands?
Oh yeah, that's cool. Your brother actually gave me the stone that's found, the meteorite stone that's found in Prague. He gave me a piece of it. I forgot the name of it. He gave me a piece of it, and then somebody who's into crystals had told me it's really bad because it holds all the negative energy and stuff like that. But it's sitting on my shelf. The what's it called?
Peer into it, subscriber. Donate, tip, give me all your tokens, subscriber.
This guy.
You want to take a trip to Appalach?
Moldavite is what your brother gave me. The little black stone, that's the one that's found that's supposedly
Yeah.
Prague. So what's interesting is that they say Prague is in a crater, and the prima materia, that's why alchemy in that area was so prominent, because the prima materia that they would use, which was this moldavite, this essentially alien stone, because the origin story of Prague is in a crater created by a stone that fell off of Lucifer's crown or something like that, and came crashing down to earth and created this crater that it's in. And that the moldavite that they would use was the prima materia that allowed them to essentially turn lead to gold in that time, and that's why it's only found there. And that's probably why Rudolph wanted to move there.
Well, it's interesting. And the angels brought Dee and Kelly. That was his scryer's name, Edward Kelly. Allegedly, he may have like lied to John Dee about his name. He said his name was Edward Talbot.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, my name's Talbot. Yeah. Oh, you know my Uncle Phil. Yeah, we go way back. Yeah. Oh well, he says he's never heard of a Talbot. Nah, don't worry about that. And apparently, I guess, after he died, they found out his name was Edward Kelly, but he introduced himself to Dee as Talbot, I believe. But
Yeah.
all right, they team up, and the angel leads them out of England right before a riot breaks out, and they burn John Dee's house, and they take all his, or they search his stuff, and he would have been thrown in jail if he was there. So they make it out in the nick of time, and that helps them trust in the angels. Like, wow, the angel led us out of the city, and then they came to arrest us right when we left. They go to Prague. They go to Poland for a time too. Poland, but basically they're led there almost like magnetically. Like they had to go somewhere where the conditions were right. That's kind of what Juan might be describing there, is like they needed this special place, whether it was the footprint of a meteor impact or whatever. But
There's that one, and there's also this one now that I remember. Like this 8th century, this prophetess had said, "I see a great city whose glory will touch the stars." Showed her a castle named Praha to be built, which means threshold, right? So this threshold, this place where you could say the veil is thin, right? And you can do all
yeah,
this magical, almost like is it
Bach,
Harry
Bach,
Potter,
almost like Bach Tower,
like a
another
Bach? Yeah.
another potential meteorite impact spot,
Yes. Yeah. That's
and
what the
the tip
locals said.
of the Yucatan, where that scrying mirror might have came from, in Mexico. But all right, so basically, he used this mirror, talked to angels. The angels gave him a language, gave him an alphabet and a language, and whatever. One thing the angel made them do was swap wives. So Edward Kelly and John Dee.
Yep.
John Dee's wife was said to be good looking and very young. He was like 60 when she was like 25, right? She was like hot, young. Edward Kelly was apparently angry at John Dee. Some people debate whether this was just Edward Kelly getting back at John Dee. But Edward Kelly told John Dee the angels told him they needed to swap wives. John Dee allegedly, I keep saying allegedly, sorry, interrogated the angels to, as if these angels are going to sue me, right?
So someone said the angel was a Hollywood producer.
And the angel said, you have to swap wives to like prove you're loyal to your, but there
They
was,
told him that they needed to share everything,
yeah,
absolutely everything, in order to be one. Like that's what they had put it. Like hey, but can you imagine that? I would pay so much money to be a fly on the wall that
yeah.
day. Can you imagine that, dude? Just like, he's like looking into his little thing. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna tell him that. Like, what do you mean I'm gonna tell him? And what are they saying? What are they saying? Edward, he goes, you're not gonna believe this, dude. This is not me. This is the angels. They want us to, swap wives. Like just imagine that, dude. And he's so
Now,
gullible that he believes it, and they do it.
yeah, and now what's crazy? Well, I don't know if he's gullible. Okay, this guy's a genius. And
No, dude, I
from what
think
I've
that
heard, hang on, they literally interrogated the angels to okay, put some respect on John Dee's name. Okay, he ain't about no cuck shit. Okay,
yeah,
this
he
was
is, bro.
this wasn't cuckology. Okay,
Yeah, dude.
they weren't invoking the god of cuck. Okay, John Dee interrogated the angel and made some tests to prove that this wasn't Edward Kelly's imagination. But still, to this day, people say, well, that had to be Kelly, getting back at John Dee for this or that. But whatever. Listen, regardless of why or how, this is another link. this is another link to Joseph
Nice
Smith.
try, Diddy.
Another link to Joseph Smith. So Joseph Smith
Oh my
was
God.
also told by an angel or the Holy Spirit to engage in not quite the same thing. You know, for him, it wasn't wife swapping. It was more like wife collecting, wife poaching.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, it was kind of wife swapping, letting John Dee have, no, or Joseph Smith, you
Aren't
know,
they known for that though? Aren't they known for
marry their
swinging
wives.
and things like that? They're known for that,
Today,
no?
today they are, yeah. Now, I don't
Mhm.
know if that stems from any of their like beliefs, but yeah, that is true. They are
I
notoriously
mean,
freaky.
I mean,
Mormons are freaky.
I don't know if I'd call it demonic, but you know, it is pretty demonic. I mean, what does the Bible say about having multiple wives? Does it say you can? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. You know, Old Testament seems to be perfectly acceptable.
I just the way I see it is it's hard enough to please one wife. Imagine having five, bro. Like, dude, that'd be wild. I couldn't I yeah, forget
Mhm.
that, man. It sounds cool on paper, but I think in practice it's probably not that great.
Yeah, what a headache.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what a headache, dude.
yeah. I don't know. That's kind of a low T perspective one. I'm gonna be
Oh my
honest.
oh my bad, dude. Oh, my bad,
Uh,
bro.
yeah. Say what you say is God, give me as much. I can take as much burden as you know, as much headache as you'll bless me with. I'll take on.
I'm sure you could, bro. You say that now.
It's not
You
that
say
much
that now.
headache. See, that's the thing is, okay, we're not going to go into too far Andrew Tate territory, but
Uh-oh.
when you look at a relationship, like you've got to constantly please and like appease the woman and be like, "Oh, is everything okay, baby? Oh, I didn't mean to
Don't
say
hit me
it.
anymore. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I didn't mean to hurt your feelings when if you're timesing that by 2 or 3, then yeah, it's going to be terrible. But if you're timesing, you know, a woman who loves you, is devoted to you, has your best interests at heart, is going to sacrifice for you, and vice versa. If you times that by 2 or 3,
Yeah.
hey, come on. Now, if you're now, I don't want to get you in any trouble here, Juan.
No,
But
no, no. We're good.
we know females are definitely not watching your show. But
No, no, no women at all. None. It's all do sausage fest over here on the
uh,
one on one podcast. Just how we like it. Right. So, anyways, what was I gonna say about John D? The you brought up the Joseph Smith connection and all that, but before that, I was gonna say something I completely forgot. Oh yeah, the some people believe that John D was actually some people believe that Edward Kelly was taking advantage of John D, but there's some other people who believe that John D was actually the bad one that was forcing Edward Kelly to do these seances. They were doing seances for 10 to 12 hours a day. Their
yeah,
families were together. Their kids were running around while these dudes were talking to angels, right?
yeah,
They were doing seances and occult rituals while their kids were running around the room. Like again,
yeah,
if you read all of this, you go, what? So that's why I said he's kind of gullible because he let himself believe so hard that he's like, all right, let's just do whatever they ask. Like, yeah, you just go tell Rudolph the second, the most powerful
yeah.
man on earth right now, that he's possessed by demons. Let's do it.
He was the first doom scroller. He's the first
Also,
doom scroller staring into his black mirror.
the Black Mirror, yeah.
There's this quote from a John Dee documentary where they say, you know, things got bad when they were spending more hours in the day looking into the black mirror than they were hours not looking in the black mirror. So
Yeah.
if there's 24 hours a day and 13 of them are spent staring into that black mirror, scrying,
And praying and doing all this stuff. Like
they said, yeah,
they were going crazy, bro. And that's why, like, I sometimes think because we'll get into the Enochian aspect of it because that's the most interesting part. Because if Edward Kelly did actually come up with this himself, he's a genius, right? Because
mhm,
that's the argument. Once you get to the Enochian stuff, we'll talk about it. But yeah,
yeah,
it's one of
no, it's a
the
good
more
point.
interesting stuff.
So the Enochian language is what was received by Dee and Kelly working with that crystal ball and the obsidian mirror. Um, I always think it's funny they'd have the two objects on and they'd be using them kind of like kids with a toy, being like, you want to play crystal ball for a couple hours? Like, yeah, I guess. Okay. And they're like, kind of sick of crystal ball. Yeah, you want to do the shoe stone for a little? Yeah, let's do the shoe stone for like, nah, I'm kind of sick of the shoe stone. Let's go back to the crystal ball or like the whatever. Like, why not just pick one? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
And they must have had different effects or something. But basically, this Enochian language would become like a valuable resource for many ceremonial magicians, like I don't know what you'd call them, magicians, occultists,
Occultist, yeah.
alchemists. The Golden Dawn would end up using Crowley would start using
Parsons.
Enochian as like this vital, almost like lifeblood for a lot of their magical rituals. They needed this language because the goal of much of ceremonial magic is to conversate with angels or to interrogate angels. And some would argue you need this Enochian alphabet to kind of really make them do your bidding. But okay, the Enochian alphabet, like Juan was saying, is probably the greatest proof that they weren't just making all this shit up, because linguists and professional philologists and all that
Mm-hmm.
swear that this is a functional language that could not have just been generated from one guy's imagination. You can try to make a language out of your imagination, and you're going to run into all these kind of issues. Languages aren't just like we're going to come up with as many names for things as we can until we have a new language. That's not how it works. There's, as much as languages are kind of like free form and can be like anything, clicking, moaning, humming, there are certain laws, or like there's like a geometry to language that things have to follow. Or I guess Tolkien kind of got into this a little bit, and Lord of the Rings basically showed this, where mythology comes out of language. Like suffixes and prefixes are often connected to deities. So like Al, El, things like that. And the ways that words have prefixes or suffixes or the order of certain words, it's almost like saying, like there's a mythology in 1 through 10. Like why was 8 afraid of 9, or why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9, that's like ingrained, and the mythology kind of fills the gaps between that structure. That's like how the
So
Bach, just real quick, that's kind of how the Bach saga works too. They say like, all right, you take the alphabet and there's a story already in the alphabet. You like fill the gaps between the letters, make them make sense. It's like when people say LMNOP, or like Christu, like QRSTU, Christu, like Christ in the alphabet. You can mythologize the alphabet. And some of that is like wishful thinking, like you want to make connections that aren't there. Another side of it is that is the birth of mythology, is connecting words or puns together and bridging the gap between like words and letters and their meaning. Mythology, another way of saying this would be mythology is what naturally like emanates when you look at the meaning of letters. Can a letter have a meaning versus a word? We all know words have meanings, but when you get down to the letters themselves, do they have meanings? Well, then within a word, you have a whole sentence.
yeah.
That's one of the easiest ways mythology gets birthed organically. And Tolkien realized this, so J.R.R. Tolkien made languages largely using Welsh, largely inspired by Welsh. Finnish, Greek, and Welsh were the big three that Tolkien used he was fascinated by Welsh and Finnish. He thought they were unique, they were heavenly, they were separate. But basically, Tolkien knew in order to create a good story or a good mythology, you don't try and create the mythology, you create the language first. And by creating the language naturally starts to assemble itself into like rules and things like that. And those rules inspire like deities. They like inspire characters just naturally. And we kind of see this in English where almost every word goes back to a god or an astrotheological topic, right? Like mercenary, Mercury and Aries, money,
Thursday.
commerce and war, Mercury and Aries, manifest, Mani, moon goddess, many, all these words. So basically, language and mythology go hand in hand. Mythology is encoded into language, and not just mythology. I'm using mythology as like you take these huge concepts out of these tiny little words. Enochian has that from day one. And I know I'm saying it's like innate in language, but this is something Enochian was equipped with much of what I've been describing from day one, with no creation process. And it also had all these numerological proofs and things like that. So, okay. All that to say, Enochian is not just made up.
Wanted to add to the language stuff, because languages, they kind of act as parasites. So right now we have words that came and derived from other languages and other at other times. And by the way, John Dee and these guys were around the time that William Shakespeare was around, and there are some stories that allegedly William Shakespeare hung out with John Dee and Edward Kelly, and that's where William Shakespeare had come up with the Tempest, right? I mean, that's one of the
Right.
stories where he's talking allegedly
Yeah.
about John Dee, like that's the model
Yeah.
after that story. And
Shakespeare may have been like a secretary or something like
a
that to John
scry,
Dee. Yeah,
yeah,
very briefly. Yeah.
And one of the interesting things is, so language, and one of the people I hate the most, but he's super interesting, but whatever. William S. Burroughs, he has this quote that always stood out to me: "Language is a virus from outer space."
No,
And
fuck that
he
guy.
looked, yeah, fuck that guy. But he described language, right, again, as this parasitic thing that you. He said this. That uses describe language as a parasitic infectious force that uses human beings as hosts to replicate, similar to a biological virus. And if you think about this, right, we're talking about a time where John Dee and the Crown, they wanted to take over America. Well, what's happening? They're coming over from another place, and they're injecting themselves in the society, and they're doing what? They're killing, they're taking away, they're pushing out, and then they essentially take the original language that was there, and the language of the area becomes the language of wherever the people came from, right?
Mhm.
So again, this is kind of what he meant, but essentially language destroys everything it touches. And I mean,
It can,
uh
yeah.
especially nowadays, I don't know what happened to "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt
Well,
me." But now people are super soft.
see, I think what we're getting at here is English is kind of like an amoeba language. It Once it's birthed, it then only consumes what it comes into contact with. If you say like "Hola, amigo, catch you later," sayonara. I'm gonna, you throw in all these words from other languages. We're still speaking English, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a cliche. Oh, what a faux pas. English is capable of stealing words and concepts from other languages. I love English. English comes out of the King James Bible. Modern standardized English comes from the King James Bible. There was English before that, but the kings of England didn't speak. The kings and queens of England didn't speak English until I don't know, Elizabeth, or a couple of kings before her. No, not far long before Elizabeth, everyone was speaking French. All the nobility in England were speaking French. So they were sick of being dominated by the French. The French had already gone through this process of refining their language. Before that, French was not known as a poetic language. After this, after the French did this on purpose, refined their language, standardized it so that everyone in the country is kind of on the same page, then France turned into one of the greatest military powers in the world. It was pushing everyone else around in Europe, telling everyone else what to do. John Dee saw what they had done and saw how language created, language gave them this power. The French didn't suddenly get taller or stronger or better at building boats. Their language got them all on the same page. You could say programmed, you could say, entranced. But again, would we have this any other way? Would we rather be speaking French today? Would we rather be I'm happy that the English came out on top. And I also argued this is biblical prophecy, that whether we liked it or not, it was Britain's job to oversweep the world and bring the British way of life to every corner of the world. Because, as I've been talking about recently, I'm a believer in British Israelism. It seems John Dee was also a believer in British Israelism, and the successor of John Dee's boss, so Queen Elizabeth, succeeded by King James. King James was definitely a British Israelite who believed that the British and the Celts were the lost tribes of Israel and some of the tribes of Israel. So King James crowned himself King of Israel. And the King James Bible came out during his reign.
Seriously?
Yes, yeah. So British Israelism. We can't talk about this too much.
That he became king because they wouldn't allow him to divorce one of his wives or whatever it was. So
that's Henry VIII.
Is it Henry VIII?
That's Henry VIII, I believe. Yeah. The divorce. Henry VIII was a big guy, kind of a little overweight. He had the whole wife debacle.
Yeah, maybe I'm
divorce debacle. But King James comes after that. So Henry VIII, and then I might be skipping one, but then Mary, and then Queen Elizabeth, I believe. And then,
yeah, you're right. It was Henry VIII. Yep.
So Henry VIII, he was basically whatever. That's kind of like the origin of England becoming Protestant, right? They're condemned because of Henry VIII's divorce, but people get that story pretty wrong. Whatever. Then, basically, the point is, John Dee set in motion what would become the King James Bible that standardized the English language and equipped the English people with a way of speaking and a way of thinking, a new approach to law, science, new words, vocabulary for the universe. Much of it was coming out of the King James Bible, which actually acted to standardize the English language. And then a lot of words were being created out of thin air by William Shakespeare, who was kind of the other half of this operation. King James Bible, William Shakespeare was, I believe, a British intelligence operation to refine their language. It's like today, we have all these people talking like fucking degenerates saying, man, I'm finna go do this, bruh. Man, meet me outside, bruh. Yo, where you get that at? I'm finna ask you something. Like, this fucking, our speech is jarbled. It's
who talks like that, though, bro?
You know who talks like that.
I don't have the sound effect. Did you fix your smoke alarm over there, dude? You put any batteries in it?
Hang on. Who are we?
Yo, so King James viewed himself as the descendant of King David?
Yes.
Dude, I have no idea. I knew King James was a little homoerotic. That's why I never really liked. Oh, there it goes. There it is.
Okay. He wasn't gay. He just was not a military leader.
He wasn't
And he
gay. He
was
just
said to
liked
be
men. I
slightly
get it.
effeminate.
I understand.
He was slightly effeminate. Okay.
He just liked to. He loved his male.
In a world where, in a day where most leaders were hardened military commanders who had bled in battle, and James had never even like swung a sword, yeah, that alone could earn you gay allegations or
So you
like,
think that's propaganda?
are there certain figures throughout history who've done so much to challenge the cabal that all they've done since then is lie and
He was
flip their
bisexual, dude. It's fine,
flip
right?
their reputation and say, "Oh yeah, he had one ball. He was secretly Jewish. He banged his sister. You know, whatever. Okay, everything. Throw everything you got at someone who shakes up the system, who kicks the hornet's nest, who deprograms the matrix. Okay, I like King James. I'd rather have him.
We stand with King James. There you go.
Hey, I like Queen Elizabeth too. Okay, I love Queen Elizabeth. People are acting like they've got this whole like shelf of their favorite action figures of their favorite kings and queens that they're comparing King James to. Like, who's your favorite king? Name him.
Mine? You
Or
asking?
anyone. Any yeah, well, not you, but anyone who's going to be like, oh, King James was gay. Maybe he fucking was. Whatever. He achieved a lot of cool stuff. I mean, people can't be so one dimensional, you know. He wasn't
Listen,
gay.
listen. Whatever he was. What was I gonna say?
If anything, he was just like an asexual eunuch who was
Can we
just
talk
like
about him crowning himself? He said as the king of what? The king of Israel?
bisexual, whatever. Maybe he was bisexual, whatever.
That's what they
Okay.
said. I mean, hey, I'm just
Juan, I'd like to see you be born into a royal family, have infinite money, and not be gay. Okay, I think it'd be impossible for you.
listen. Can we talk about the Israel connection? What were you saying about that he saw himself as the king of Israel?
Yes, look that up. British Israelism.
But we can't talk about this right now.
Um,
I didn't know this
here,
was a
let's
thing,
no, let's
bro.
talk about let's focus on John Dee a little bit.
It's a
Um,
pseudo historical theory, bro. There you go. You see, there's our
oh, pseudo, yeah. Well, Juan, if you didn't notice, you've made a whole career off pseudo this and that. So,
Wikipedia, dude, says it's a pseudo historical
mhm.
theory. It's a see, it's a case shut, bro. That's it. It's wrapped. Anyways, 19th century, claiming that people of British and Northern European descent are the direct literal descendants of the 10 lost tribes of ancient Israel. I
Yeah.
had no idea about. I didn't even know this is a thing.
Oh yeah, bro. This is why the whole half the world speaks English because English is not just English; it's angelic. Okay, we can whine about, oh, who was John Dee talking to? Were they angels, demons? Psh, we don't know what's going on up there. Okay, at least one of those conversations was with an angel. I'm willing to bet.
You think
And
so, bro?
the fruits of those conversations, the fruit of those conversations, and the fruit of you know William Shakespeare, all these great geniuses getting together, putting that stuff together. We get English out of it. English helped the British take over the world, and that's why half the world speaks English today.
It
It is
was the will.
angelic.
It was the will of the angels, huh?
It's true. It's true. So that's why the English people are the Israelites. They have a clean language, a clean conduct, a clean lifestyle, a way of life that is worth spreading across the world. Not because we like it and we think we're the best, but because God made it that way. Okay, God chose the Northern European people to be like the sheriffs of the world, the stewards of the world. I don't know. And again, we're not saying this is like a huge racist
Tread lightly, bro.
ideology.
Tread lightly.
What this really is it's a story of forgetfulness. It's a story of like hypnosis or like slumber. Like the Northern European people were supposed to forget this because it's not supposed to be clouding your mind thinking. We see what happens when certain people pat themselves on the back all day and say, "Oh yeah, we're the chosen people. We live in the promised land, and now we can just bomb whoever we want because we're
Whoa.
chosen. We're chosen. You're not." See, there's a lot of kind of conceit that can go along with that. So that's why this forgetfulness was important. You don't want to jerk yourself off too much with that. That's why the Atlantis story is important too. You don't want too much hubris saying, "Well, yeah, clearly, obviously, we're the best." When you say it's like meeting someone who's very smart or talented or anything like that, you appreciate what they do so much. It's so captivating. But as soon as they start talking about it and saying like, "Well, I know I'm the best guitarist," and then you're like, all right, well, this fucking sucks. I don't want to. Yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. Is the British, the Saxons, so Anglo-Saxon, the British, the Germanic, the Northern European people, um, the founding stock of America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. Um, these are the real Israelites. This is the house of Jacob, Joseph, the tribes of Ephraim, Manasseh. Um, there were blessings made to Abraham and then Jacob, Joseph, and Isaac. This whole family, and all of those. None of those blessings and promises and covenants have came true in the Jewish people. They've all come true in Northern European people, however, who just like God said to one of those patriarchs, he said, "Your descendants are going to be like the grains of sand or the stars in the sky." That's not the Jewish people. That's not the Mormons. That is the Northern European people, um, specifically the British, the Celtic, the Norse, and the Germanic people. And before the spread of Islam, those people were a lot closer to the Holy Land than they are today. So to think that, whatever, that's British Israelism. And I'll ask you this, okay? We can get lost in the weeds, stuck in.
This is new to me, bro.
What does Adam mean in Hebrew?
In Hebrew, I don't know.
Red.
Oh, the red man, yeah.
Adam.
From the clay or
Edom.
from the dirt.
Later on, Edom is a nickname given to Esau, who was born with red hair, covered in red hair. So he was
Bigfoot.
called Edom. Kind of, yeah, almost like an orangutan or something. And then David was said to have a ruddy complexion. At least one of Solomon's wives had this red hair and these jeweled eyes. And then either Solomon or one of his wives is apologizing for having dark hair, dark eyes, apologizing for their dark features, saying, "Thank you for loving me. Thanks for thinking I'm beautiful, even though I have these dark hair, dark eyes," which shows us the beauty standard of the day was light hair or red hair.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I think it's either me or you. Something happened. The CIA sent this gnat into my room to try and distract me from talking about this today. And I think it's messing with my internet connection.
Well, just real quick, the Israelites had red hair in the Bible. Lots of red hair. Who in the world today has the most red hair?
I don't know.
The Celtic people,
Mm.
the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh, the English, the British. Who, aside from the Celtic, who has the second most red hair in the world today? Take a guess.
I got no clue, bro.
The Jews.
Really?
The Jews. Yep. So Jews have a lot of red hair. A lot of red hair. People don't realize this. They're surprised, but historically, this has always been a thing. It's always been like a hallmark of Judaism, or kind of a cliche, or maybe even a stereotype that Jews have red
Didn't the
hair.
giants in is it Kandahar or something like that have red hair? Like Nephilim? Did the
I
Nephilim
don't
have red
know.
hair?
Yeah, you hear a lot of that, being repeated. People say like, "Oh, red hairs Canaanite," or red hairs. We do know that Rh negative blood and red hair go kind of hand in hand, but not totally. So, what we don't see a lot of in the Bible is blonde hair. But red keeps coming up. So there might be a word for blonde, like ruddy may have meant blonde too, or, reddish, blondish, whatever. But yeah, whatever. We can't. Let's
Let's
talk about
circle
this
let's
here.
circle
Let's
back. All right, so we
circle
talked
back.
about
Yeah,
Enochian, and we have to
yeah.
connect that to the Cherokee because the Cherokee alphabet looks a lot. So we've already established that you can't just make a language up out of thin air, which I had brought up this book here. Let me bring it back up again. The Donald Laycock, he had done the complete Enochian dictionary, and he goes over he's a linguist that studied Enochian, and he breaks everything down, the history and why it's a legitimate language that's actually used. It's got a syntax and it's got all this. It's a structured language. Now, a lot of people say, well, it was gibberish, right? But then that would mean that Edward Kelly, who was the one that spoke, because John Dee was the scribe, right? And he was the one that was telling Edward Kelly was telling John Dee what he was seeing, right, in these visions. And the way that the Enochian language came to be was it was an angel with a stick, and it would point to the different letters.
Oh
And the
yeah.
reason that they didn't want to speak it is because they believed that by speaking the Enochian, they would invoke certain entities in these what they called aethers, these different dimensions, because that's how powerful the language was. Okay. And there was times where the angels even told John Dee, like, if we speak the things that we're giving to you, it will literally bring forth the end of reality itself. So they thought that they were messing with something so beyond them, like this supernatural thing that was so beyond them, coming directly from these things. And they describe some of them if you read some of the books, right? They're like
Yeah.
they
Some of them.
remind me of like DMT entities, because they talk
Yeah.
about them being very geometrical and
Well,
shape, kind of
that
shape shifting.
there was there's tiers to the angels
Yeah.
they're interacting with. Okay, there who they believe was their personal kind of companion angel was Medimi, this female, apparently hot, fucking hot.
It started as a little girl. Yeah. It was kind
Whoa,
of weird.
yeah, yeah, that's not what I'm saying. She was hot. Okay, apparently she showed up later and she was
Grown
like
up. Yeah.
yeah, grown up and was
She
sexy.
was naked. Yeah.
Yeah. Earlier, they weren't sure what she kind of really looked like, or she had multiple forms. When the wife swapping thing came up, apparently she appeared to them like butt naked, fully, tits out.
Nice.
Apparently, she was hot.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And some of that angel poon.
Now, what she looked like before that, I'm not sure. If she had like a child appearance or what, but she seemed very innocent up until then,
Yeah.
or she seemed kind of innocent. Well, um, then
Did I
there
ever tell
then
you about
well, hang on. Then there were these archangels. So they believe in the four archangels, like uh,
the main
Michael,
ones? Yeah.
Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. Those the four, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
The four main archangels. Then there's like another council of angels, and then you get into there's like 72 angels, and then past that there's like hundreds. And when you get into those like wider, like bigger numbers, those bigger groups, they're so niche, like these angels' specialty is so specific to like one area of life or one that they are, those archangels are very benevolent. They're consistent with like biblical, virtues and like character. But when you get into those little specialized ones, the small guys, some would say small, some would say big, dangerous. But those small guys, the lesser kind of deities, angels, demons, they're so specialized. They're almost like an IT guy, where instead of dealing with like the boss or like a guy with good characters, like at the face of the organization, you're going to like the back room and you're picking out like the weirdest, most specialized, like talented genius, or like the IT guy. You go into like it's like going into an NBA team headquarters, and instead of talking to the coach, the quarterback, or like the owners, you're going way back, like, no, skip past all the offices, go into the back room, pull out the IT guy. Now you've got the IT guy that you're interrogating, like you've kidnapped him. He's trapped in your little magical circle, and you're like asking him about you want this very particular information.
Yeah.
But what you have to sort through is like his personality, his issues, his quirks, how antisocial he is, how perverted he is. Like this IT guy is probably just fucking watching porn all day. That's kind of like what some of these angels are like. They're so specialized. They're in such a dark, dusty corner that they are,
Moist
yes,
corner. Yeah.
mischievous, perverted, you know. So we're not talking about Gabriel and Michael when we say these angels were perverted. We're talking about one of those smaller deities. But
And they were described as like some of the descriptions like geometric, and it makes me think of like angels
yeah,
and angles, right? Like
yeah,
but anyways, let's do the the Enochian and Cherokee connection, because when you brought this up to me, it blew my mind. And then I asked you, were they like, how could they know? Were they talking to the
yeah,
same thing? Because if you look at Enochian, which is this here, is John Dee and Edward Kelly, and then you have the Cherokee language, and it's very, very similar. It looks similar.
yeah. Keyword search. Keyword search. Cherokee keyword, like in
Huh?
quotes, like Cherokee in quotes,
Mm-hmm.
and then get rid of the alphabet and search, and then keyword in quotes Enochian.
What does this do?
And then go to images, and you'll see, we're not the first people to like pick up on this.
Oh, really?
Go down a little bit. Maybe spell Enochian with an E at the end instead of A.
By the way, you gotta watch this
No,
guy's videos.
instead of A.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Yes. Search that, see if it. All right, there. Top left.
This one.
Yeah, go to his site, or like wherever those come from. Yeah. I think the Wayback Machine, it's like gone. You have to use the Wayback Machine. The original site on this is
Oh
gone.
my
Yeah.
gosh, bro.
But this is from like a book. I think his name is Paul Winter or
Is
Dave
it
Winter. He's kind of somewhat popular on YouTube. I think that's from one of his
Dan?
books.
Dan? Oh, Dan Winters, bro.
Dan
What?
Winter. You've interviewed him, have you?
No, but he's he's
He's
let me see.
schizo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who he is.
But basically, I guess he stumbled onto this and
No,
was
because he was
trying to figure it out.
so he was actually with this guy, the one that I just showed you. He was actually so this guy here, he's passed away since, but if you watch this guy, Vincent Bridges and Dan Winter, they were friends, right? But this guy here, I've watched all his videos, and he was a ceremonial magician essentially, and they were doing Enochian magic in Prague, in the middle of like on top of a mountain or something like that. So they were like putting this stuff to practice, and they allegedly claim that they had summoned things, right? So you can go down the Vincent Bridges rabbit hole, and he's written a bunch of books. He's got a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, here it is. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, zoom in on that picture so people can see what he's trying to point out. Basically, the Enochian language, the alphabet was apparently generated out of thin air. Like it has no links or direct inspiration or anything like that. But the only other language or alphabet that it looks like visually, so we're just going off of like visually, is the Cherokee alphabet, which is actually a syllabary, not an alphabet. The Cherokee syllabary appears to have at least 3 characters in common with the Enochian alphabet. Now, isn't that crazy? Enochian, Cherokee. Cherokee's Native American, and allegedly this was the Cherokee syllabary was only written down. This is also like a created alphabet. People debate that. It's a big controversy. Many people say this alphabet was here in America for hundreds and thousands of years before the white man came. People say Sequoia, who is the Cherokee man who wrote this alphabet down, came up with the Cherokee syllabary. He took inspiration from other letters, other alphabets, other languages, but this was a created syllabary. He created this so that Cherokees could write their language.
Mm.
And so pretty interesting. It's a created language that has some characters in common with Enochian from John Dee. Now remember, John Dee's glass, that Aztec glass, came from America. So who knows if some American deity has any influence on that. Basically, how would they have anything in common if one's in America, one's on the other side of the Atlantic? There's no internet. Barely anyone ever even knew what John Dee did up until like the last 100 years, because his notes and his diary was not available to the public, really. Or at least, the operations of the second part of his life were not well known until recently. So how could the Cherokees have, came up with something similar? But well, here. Now we're going back across the Atlantic. How do we make sense of this? Well, John Dee never personally went to America. But now let's talk about specifically, what did John Dee say about America? John Dee believed that Prince Madoc made
I
it
got it
to
here.
him. Yeah, you want to read it?
Yeah. So, and by the way, like a lot of these guys throughout history, wait a second. A lot of these guys throughout history, there was a portion of John Dee's private journals that were burned because apparently they were in like a false bottom drawer of like this old cabinet that was like sold at an auction or something crazy. And the maid had found the paperwork and she started to kindle the fire with a bunch of stuff. And when they took a closer look at it, like, oh, wait a minute, this is John Dee's journal, magical journal. So a bunch of his stuff was lost, quote unquote. But you kind of hear that story throughout history of like the Dead Sea Scrolls, where like, oh, they were taking them and they were burning them in the fire until somebody realized like, oh, this is like ancient manuscripts and blah blah blah. But anyways, there's a bunch of stuff because after John D. Edward Kelly split up, he went on to do more magical workings, and we don't know what happened after that, right? So in Dee's unpublished manuscript, Britannic Imperial Limitus, he began the process of putting forth his imperial claims to North America. In an imaginative piece of antiquarian propaganda, Dee and justified British rights to those sundry foreign regions. What does sundry mean? Sundry foreign regions discovered, inhabited, and partile, conquered by the subjects of this British monarchy. Dee continued, stating that the extent of those holdings with Her Majesty's title royal to all the coasts and lands beginning at or about Terra, Florida, and so along or near unto Atlantis, going northly, and then to all the most northern islands, great and small. The complete work was a compendium of British antiquarian, historical, legal, literary, and cartographic materials and arguments to substantiate those claims.
Yeah. So John Dee wrote these 2 books, or like not books, but
So
they
right
were
here,
like
this is the part, bro.
they're
To that
essays.
end, Dee cited voyages both real and thought to be real of King Arthur, Saint Brendan Malgo, a friar of Oxford, John and Sebastian Cabot, Stephen Burrow, Martin Forbisher, and Madoc to support his thesis. And
Yeah.
then he quotes it here. So
Particularly Madoc. John Dee wrote these 2 works to basically persuade not only Elizabeth, but many of the other royalty nobility in Europe that England, Britain had a claim over America because Prince Madoc and these other guys, but especially Madoc, had reached Florida and staked a claim, you know? So that was the reason for writing those. And again, John Dee's the first guy to come up with the term British Empire. So he used this, and it seems it was effective, you know. Eventually, England did come to take over the Americas, and a quote that I have is he wrote. Wait, real quick. Um, John Dee wrote. Juan just read most of it, but he was like quoting other people who wrote about it. He's compiling like excerpts other people had written. But the one sentence that is important in 1580 to Elizabeth, he said, "The Lord Madoc, son to Owen Gwynedd, Prince of Gwynedd, I don't know how to pronounce that.
oh, it's right
Gwynedd, I
here.
think. Led a colony and inhabited in Terra, Florida, or thereabouts." So he's saying Madoc made it to Florida, and for the record, Florida meant all of the southeastern United States, maybe even all of North America, but especially Florida, the peninsula, Florida. And John Dee was aware of. John Dee was also a cartographer, so he was very aware of like the geography over here, what it looked like. But and the Spanish, he's writing this because the Spanish and the French are poking around in Florida. That's why he's really writing this. So this really does have a lot to do with Florida.
Those filthy
Um,
Spaniards. You don't want them taking over.
Now, also, um, John Dee never made it to Florida, but some of his kind of disciples or successors did. So we all know who Aleister Crowley is. Can we go to Aleister Crowley's Wikipedia for a sec?
Do you want to go down a rabbit hole? Have you ever heard of John Dee's Tower?
No.
Well, we'll save that for another episode. But okay, yeah, let's save that for another episode because there is something really interesting. There you go, Aleister Crowley, which, by the way, Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, I believe it was Aleister Crowley that said he was the reincarnation of Edward Kelly.
I don't remember. Crowley believed he was the reincarnation of William Blake. I do know that. But so Aleister Crowley, that's what he looked like. Scroll up a little.
Give me 1 second. There.
Aleister Crowley, famous, another British occultist. ceremonial magician, poet, novelist, mountaineer, painter, founder of the religion Thelema, and all this stuff, nicknamed the most wicked man in the world, although that's largely exaggerated, pretty much totally wrong. But Aleister Crowley, also, involved in British intelligence and espionage, and
He thought he was
people.
the reincarnation of Elvis Levi too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Edward Kelly and Elvis Levi. So, yeah.
Well, Crowley did make it to Florida. So Aleister Crowley took a vacation to Florida. Would you believe it? He actually lived in America during World War One. Around 1917 is when he came to Florida.
In Titusville.
Aleister Crowley had family who had moved to Titusville, and he came down to visit them. Apparently, he didn't like Florida too much. I think he said something like it's a very magical place, but it's swampy, and I didn't really like it. I think I believe that's I'm paraphrasing, and I'm condensing that into one sentence, but he didn't really love it too much. But he visited in 1917. That was during World War One, so he attracted some attention. People thought he might have been a spy, or this or that. Now Crowley didn't spend much time in Florida, just visited his family. But in 1930, he referenced Florida again when he wrote Astrology, Your Place in the Stars, which was he ghost wrote that for a woman named Evangeline Adams. He was the ghostwriter to this woman who kind of took credit for it. But then that work would kind of get remade into the general principles of astrology, largely the same body of work, not totally, but so that work, he's talking about astrology. Crowley was a big astrology enthusiast. He liked to teach astrology. He's one of the best teachers from his time. And in this book, he writes the following. Periods when the sun will be This is like a title of a section in the book. Periods when the sun will be beneficently aspected by Jupiter. Quote, for instance, a woman spending the summer at Bretton Woods, recognized as being the resort for the most exclusive and wealthy set, or spending the winter at the Breakers at Palm Beach, would certainly stand a better chance of meeting men who would benefit her than she would by spending these seasons in a small Main Street town. End quote. So Crowley's saying, if you're a rich woman, you're looking to meet a rich husband, go to the Breakers. Or if Jupiter is in your chart in this one, location, you're supposed to meet a rich husband, not a poor husband. So go to the Breakers, you'll find who you're supposed to there. This is kind of what he's saying. So he was at least familiar with the Breakers a little bit, had either heard of the reputation or maybe even made it down there himself. I don't know if the timing works out on that, because he wrote that in 1930. He visited Florida in 1917, but he knew what the Breakers was, and he referenced it. So that's Palm Beach Island, where a lot of the stars and people still hang out today. But all right. Crowley doesn't spend too much time in Florida, but
Is it a Henry Flagler hotel?
Yep.
Wow. And I
Yep,
told you I just went to the Flagler Museum in St. Augustine recently.
Yeah, Flagler College.
Pretty dope.
Yeah, that's cool. So Crowley didn't spend too long in Florida, but one of his disciples did. Jack Parsons. Can we go to Jack Parsons' Wikipedia.
Yeah, and I got something here too that I want to talk about.
So Jack Parsons,
which essentially helped establish what is NASA today.
yep.
JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He was a pupil of Crowley.
In 1 sec, I'll be right back.
Yeah, he was a pupil of Crowley, and they definitely knew about each other. He saw him as his magical son. This is the satanic rocket scientist who, at one point in time, came to Florida after doing these magical seances in the desert using Enochian magic with L. Ron Hubbard. They invoked, I forgot which deity they invoked, but they were doing some sexual
Yeah. Well,
Enochian magic.
So Crowley kind of takes Parsons as like a disciple or an understudy, and Crowley kind of likes him, but he's hesitant. He's willing to drop him, if he doesn't like him. But Parsons, who's really obsessed with Crowley, then meets L. Ron Hubbard, a young L. Ron Hubbard. And L. Ron Hubbard then uh, becomes close friends with Parsons, and Parsons is kind of torn between Crowley and Hubbard. He wanted to introduce Hubbard to Crowley. People think Hubbard and Crowley met, they never met. I think Parsons barely met Crowley, only once or a couple times, and most of their relationship was through letters, correspondence. So he would write back like, "Oh, I just met this Hubbard guy. He's amazing. He's a genius. I want to introduce him to you." Crowley was like, "I don't like the sound of him. Everything you told me about him, I don't like. Like, forget him." But Parsons is like, "Oh, well, I really like this guy. I'm just going to keep hanging out with him." If Parsons listened to Crowley, he wouldn't have gotten cucked and his life ruined and all his life savings taken away. Basically, L. Ron Hubbard like hijacks Parsons' life. He takes his girlfriend, he takes his life savings, scams him out of over $20,000 back then. It was like, I don't know what, 100,000, a million today, something like that, somewhere between there. Not a million, but
That's a
over
lot.
100,
Yeah, that's a big gap, bro.
100,000, I think is what that would. Yeah, 20,000 from 1940 in today's money.
So L. Ron Hubbard took approximately 10,000 to over 20,000 from Jack Parsons in
Yeah, but see
1946.
how much that is in today's money.
So 1946, let's say 20K in 1946 to 2026. So
300,000. I was exactly right. It's between 100,000 and
you
1
said a
million.
million, bro.
I
Be quiet.
Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
All right.
I said between 100,000 and $1 million.
That's a big gap, bro. Right here.
And that's exactly where the sum is in that gap.
That's crazy, bro. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. So he scams him out of $300,000, steals his bitch. Okay, hang on. I need to be respectful. Because this wasn't just any old girlfriend, okay? This is kind of fucked up. We gotta get serious for a sec. Jack Parsons' girlfriend, L. Ron Hubbard, might have been doing this girl a favor. I mean, Jack Parsons literally groomed this girl into being his girlfriend. Allegedly, according to her daughter, L. Ron, sorry, not L. Ron, Jack Parsons started dating this girl. Her name was Sarah Northrup.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Sarah Jack Parsons started dating Sarah when she was 13.
I know that part.
13, grooms her. They, you know, eventually meets Elron. She ends up marrying Elron when she's an adult, later on. But so it's not, don't feel too bad for Jack Parsons over here, okay? Elron stole his victim, basically. His abuse victim. But takes all his money, takes his girlfriend, and then leaves. Parsons tried to go to court against them, tried to put like a restraining order or like a temporary injunction on them, but they escaped to Florida. So they're like, fuck it, fuck the judge, just move down to Florida, like a lot of people do. All these scammers escape to Florida, like make a new life for themselves. They escape to Florida, they're hiding, and L. Ron Hubbard, he's fucking hilarious. He starts buying all these yachts. He's like racking up. He's got like Parsons' credit card or like his account number. He's like, you guys, free drinks on me, whole round on me. He's paying for everyone's drinks, and he's buying all these boats. And he gets all these boats in like multiple yachts, and that's how he like starts building the fleet of Scientology. So he's stole this guy's credit card pretty much, spending it on yachts, and they're sailing these yachts around the world, and that's kind of how Scientology starts. But before they leave Florida, Hubbard's buying these boats. He's running away from Parsons. Parsons chases them to Florida. Parsons doesn't know where to find them, so he's just like, fuck it. He goes back to his hotel room. He's like looking, he's like trying, desperately searching marinas, trying to, major cities, trying to see where they are. No luck, so he goes back to his hotel room and he invokes like a mega demon.
Mars or something like that.
He invokes one of Mars's bodyguards or some shit like that. And he
Right here,
invokes
Bartzabel. Geomantic invocation of Bartzabel, which is the vengeful spirit of Mars.
So he invokes fucking all this stuff. He invokes this demon to help him go, hurt Hubbard, catch Hubbard, bring his money back, bring his wife back. And that's how
This is all in Miami, by the way.
Yeah, some people, largely in and around Miami. Now, Hubbard, this is in around World War II. So this is not quite Scientology. So, we'll get to the Scientology part. But some people say that they even had like a boat chase, like Hubbard, like Parsons, like saw them and like got in a boat trying to chase them, and they're like doing a Harry Potter battle, like over the boat, over the boats, like Wingardium Divorca, like Wingardium Cuculados,
freaking nerds,
whatever, and basically. But Parsons calls in the big guns. He does this ritual in a fucking Miami hotel room. Miami still hasn't been the same since. Okay, we're still dealing with the afterbirth, the fucking of that conjuring. But basically, he conjures this mega demon, and when that happens, Hubbard was trying to escape Florida, and he gets hit with like a hurricane. Apparently Parsons like conjured like a water spout or like a tornado, almost sinks Hubbard's ship. Hubbard has to turn around and come back to Florida, and a court judge ends up siding with Parsons, and Hubbard has to pay back Parsons, but still takes his girlfriend, and then goes on to create Scientology later on.
And didn't he disappear this Sarah Northrop? Isn't that one of the things that they're trying to find her? Is that the?
I don't remember. I don't know.
One of his latest, like it was one of his wives. I thought it was that Sarah one. It sounded familiar. No, Michelle Shelley. Miss Miscavige. Never mind. I'm thinking of the wife of David Miscavige, where they say she's missing. She
Oh
hasn't
yeah,
been seen since
she's like
2000.
hidden. Yeah.
You think she's dead, or you think that she's hiding? I think she's
Oh, I
dead.
don't know.
Gotta be 100% dead.
Yeah.
100% dead. So, anyways, yeah, it's interesting that Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard were in the desert. L. Ron Hubbard was the scribe, and Jack Parsons was doing the invocations. And just how the real Edward Kelly and John Dee, they say that when John Dee was cucked, his wife actually gave birth to a son after the whole ordeal, shortly after. And some people speculate that it was actually a child of Edward Kelly, and he raised him
Who the hell is
like
this?
I don't
You
know.
know who this is?
No, I don't know. Is that on my channel or yours?
I don't know.
That's on your channel.
What the hell is wrong with these people?
Yeah.
My God.
Sick individual.
Who Fascismo, man. You gotta calm down a little bit. What's going on, man? Is everything
Oh,
okay?
you got a secret admirer, bro?
This guy is infatuated.
Probably thinks you're cute.
Yeah, my biggest fan. I've got a lot of fans
Yeah.
obsessed with me. Whenever they, oh man, yeah. But hey, Fascismo, man, cool down a little bit, bro.
You're beefing with just imaginary people on the internet, bro. Just fighting with your own shadow.
Whatever. Little rats in the garage.
Yeah.
Hear a little noise, nibbling, a little nibbling in the trash can. What the hell was that? Go shine a flashlight, and then they're gone. Shine a flashlight. What the hell was that? And then they're gone. Never showing up or owning up or putting their face behind the behind what they want to say.
There you go.
You banned him? Don't ban him.
Oh, well, can't take it back now.
Don't ban him.
I
We want him
did.
to call in so he can show us what a specimen he is.
What an alpha male he is.
Yeah.
Whoopsies. Hit the band stick there. Bye-bye. Just make another account.
That was he's a spirit of Bartsabil. That's what it was.
So, yeah, we never we never did that documentary, huh?
Which one?
That we were supposed to go to Tampa for.
Oh, Scientology, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
we never
Dude,
did
we
that.
could still make it happen. You see all these Scientology speed runs or like
Yeah, the raids or whatever.
raids, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I
So
completely forgot about that.
so here, Jack Parsons, all that happens, Hubbard ends up marrying that woman. All throughout that, Parsons was writing letters to Crowley asking his advice. And Crowley's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm fucking associated with you." He's like, just clean that mess up. Don't ever talk to them again. And I think he says something like, you know, I'm like one letter away from never talking to you again.
It's like, you're trying to
Basically,
make a homunculus? What do you
yeah,
mean?
because Jack Parsons was writing to Crowley saying, "This Hubbard guy is the next big thing." He's like, this is the most magical man I've ever met. And then 1 week later, he's like, "Oh yeah, he took my money, fucked my bitch, uh, ruined my vacation to Miami, or whatever."
Look at this.
And
One of Cameron's friends, which is the second wife of Jack Parsons, later stated her belief that Parsons had died in a rite designed to create a homunculus. His death has never been definitively explained. So
dude,
I'm not making that up, bro. They say that he blew himself up trying to make a
yeah,
homunc. What a
yeah,
loser.
his rituals all had like pyrotechnics, like spring, like sparklers and like bombs going off, and it's true that. But that kind of reminds me of Aleister Crowley. is said to have banged a dude to death.
Wait, what?
Have you heard about that?
You talking about Is it Victor or something like that?
Yeah, search. Did Aleister Crowley bang a guy to death?
I'm sure he reamed him out. I don't know if he banged him to death though. Hold on, let me take my screen off here.
Look it up. He literally. It was like in the middle of the desert or something.
Yeah, you're talking about Victor Nuremberg or something like that.
Maybe.
Oh
my god.
Take my screen here. There you go. He was a poet, an intimate associate of Aleister Crowley. Relationship with Aleister Crowley. He came in contact.
What was his name? Put it up on screen.
Victor Newberg. So
I believe he died during a ritual too.
No, I don't believe he died. I think he got like super spooked right here. So Crowley initiated Newberg into his magical order, the AA, in which he took the magical name Frater Omnia Vincam. Crowley also began an extended sentimental and sexual relationship with Newberg. In 1909, Crowley took Newberg to the Algiers and they set off into the desert where they performed a series of occult rituals based on the Enochian system of Dr. John Dee, later chronicled The Vision and the Voice. In the midst of these rituals, Crowley put the ideas of sex and magic together. They performed his first sex magic rituals. Newberg's anthology of poems dates from these. No, I don't think he died. He didn't die.
All right, this is a different guy then.
You really gave it to him that day, though, huh?
What do you say? You reamed him out?
He reamed. Yeah, he was reaming him out, bro. You're nailing me, bro.
Aleister Crowley was the one getting banged.
Oh no! So right here. Back in London, Newberg showed potential as a dancer. So Crowley gave him a leading role in his proto-performance art pieces, Rites of Ulysses. Newberg also pursued whatever, dude. A doomed relationship with the actress. Never mind. Oh. No. Death. There you go. He died from tuberculosis, bro. The one that I think you're thinking about is the mountaineer that Crowley took one time. And like he was a mountaineer, he would climb mountains, right? And he would take these people with him and he would just leave them. And there was a guy
that
who
happened
died.
once. There was like a snowstorm and he had to leave, and people
argued
whether it was his magic killed everyone on the mountain with him.
Here we go. Hold on. During a controversial 1905 expedition, occultist climber Aleister Crowley arguably left team members to die after a fatal avalanche. I would believe that. If he freaking just left them, he seems like that kind of guy.
Okay,
climber
I think Raoul Loveday.
Raoul Loveday.
I think that was his name. Yeah, search him up.
We're talking about some esoteric stuff. Was a young Oxford devoted follower who died at the Abbey of you're talking. Oh, yes. You're talking about this where but he got sick from drinking something. Yeah, was blaming his wife. Oh, so his death in 1923 from acute enteric fever, allegedly caused by drinking from a polluted stream against advice, was blamed by his wife Betty May on Crowley's rituals, fueling tabloid. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, so
they shut that place down.
Yes. Oh, so something like that. I don't know. I might be confusing two stories there, but
I mean, this is different than being
banged to death.
Yeah, screwed to death.
I could have sworn that happened. Like he literally banged a full-grown man to death.
Here we are spreading lies about Crowley.
Yeah, as if it wasn't ugly enough. But all right, not far from the truth. But so
all right, who cares?
But all right, so now L. Ron Hubbard. That was around World War II. Well, L. Ron Hubbard ends up going back to Florida. Okay. He goes back to Florida in 1975 when he's on the run from the police. Now he's on the run from the law. Before he was on the run from like more of a civil dispute. Now he has the law after him. He's in hiding. And his let's go to L. Ron Hubbard for a sec, please.
Yeah, somebody said so he wasn't gay. I go, he was bi. Same thing.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
Spies gayer than gay.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Either you're gay or you're not gay. You can't be in between. All right. What do you want me to look up?
Go to Hubbard's Wikipedia just so we can look at him. But L. Ron Hubbard goes back to Florida in 1975 with his what's the word? His
Look at this
fleet,
guy.
his fleet of ships and yachts, and they're off the coast of Florida, just hanging out. And Elron's kind of sick. I don't know if his wife was sick, but he was kind of feeling under the weather, so he needed a place to just sit and like stay and rest, relax. And Florida was that place for them. So another great, influential man who came to Florida for health, came to Florida for recovery, rejuvenation, and we get Scientology because of it. So they're off the coast of Florida, and Hubbard starts buying property in Florida. He gets a hotel in Daytona. He buys a condo in Dunedin, which is over there near Tampa. And then now listen, the condo in Dunedin. Dunedin's a really nice, quiet, beautiful little town. When he leaves the house, when it passes to someone else's possession, they left a cache of heavy weaponry, like assault rifles and machine guns. You listening to this? L. Ron Hubbard
Yeah.
left like a box of guns in this condo, like a ton, like a bunch of guns, enough to like equip a small like fighting force. And he never got in trouble for it. They weren't sure what to do with it, but he left these guns there and never came back for them.
I
And
think
then
he was a government asset because wasn't he sent in to spy on? Oh, there's a conspiracy that he was sent in by the CIA to spy on Jack Parsons.
I
Because I
don't
mean,
know.
if you think of Scientology, bro, like think about Scientology. Like Scientology is such a psyop. It can be used for money laundering by the government. Like you have what Tom Cruise as this guy for Scientology. Like it's 100% a government operation. And what a better way to disguise it, as a religion, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. They own what, half of St. Pete or something. Like they own a bunch of buildings, like, and some of them are empty. And like, what do they do? It's like I think it's a government operation, and that's maybe why he didn't get in trouble from maybe he was trying to overthrow. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think he's 100% a Fed.
Well, maybe. But he's in Florida. He leaves all these guns behind, and it's around this time that the Sea Org purchases this big hotel in Clearwater, Florida. This big, big historic hotel that looks like a castle. Huge. That is the actual headquarters of Scientology. The one in LA is just like it's just an outpost. Clearwater, Florida is their capital. This worldwide spiritual headquarters of Earth is what they call this place. And Clearwater in Scientology lingo, clear is what they call,
When you transcend or whatever.
yeah, enlightenment, like your salvation or your ultimate, state, like perfected state is when you are clear, illuminated, clarity, right? You're clear. So that's potentially why they liked Clearwater a lot. Beach town in Florida, often voted multiple times, been voted the nicest beach in America. But all right. So Hubbard comes back and he plants the flag for Scientology. Well, that's Crowley, Parsons, and then Hubbard we talked about, who are kind of the three most popular, not maybe Hubbard, but the three most popular occultists, magicians, after Dee's time. Crowley for sure. Jack Parsons is a big one. Hubbard, not so much, but he's an influential guy nonetheless. So, what was Dee's like actual connection to Florida or America, the Cherokee alphabet? We don't really see that strong of a link with those guys. They knew who Dee was. They came to America. Did they explain these connections? Well, Crowley did talk about Avalon a lot and the Celtic Otherworld, and he believed in that stuff. But Parsons and Hubbard, not so much. Now, the next kind of the one missing figure, he was kind of before Crowley, after John Dee. Someone that we need to talk about is Joseph Smith. So Joseph Smith has a lot in common with John Dee. Joseph Smith is the founder of the Church of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormonism. Joseph Smith is said to have communicated with angels using crystals, much in the same way that John Dee did. Much like John Dee, despite diving into ceremonial magic and
Necromancy.
necromancy, alchemy, all this stuff, despite going in those directions, it's still with this Christian foundation. That's another thing John Dee and Joseph Smith had in common. They've both claimed or were reputed to be very pious. And people say, oh, they had all these wacky ideas, but when you ask their closest believers, they say, no, he was as pious and as Christian as you could be, just different. So that's another thing they had in common. The simple names, kind of generic, simple names they have in common: John Dee, Joseph Smith, John Smith, kind of like a mix of the two. Agent Smith,
Maybe that's where that
intelligence.
comes from, bro. John Smith, like that's like a
Yeah.
most
Here,
generic,
let me go pee real quick.
most
You gotta
generic
go.
name. Yeah, but Agent Smith is another one. But apparently, he was also talking to angels, and let me find it here. He did on June 15, Emma and Joseph's first child son was born, but died the same day. Joseph joined his wife's church, the Methodist, becoming an exhorter for the group. He continued as a Methodist until one of his wife's cousins objected to inclusion of practicing necromancy on the Methodist class roll. I don't really know the Joseph Smith story, but from what I gather, he like talked to a salamander or something or other, and there was some golden tablets that, of course, were never recovered because the angels took them. But let me find it here. Let's see. After the camp returned to Ohio, Smith drew heavily from its participants to establish various governing bodies in the church. He gave a revelation announcing that in order to redeem Zion, his followers would have to receive an endowment in the Kirtland Temple, which he and his followers constructed in March 1836. At the temple's dedication, many who received the endowment reported seeing visions of angels and engaged in prophesying and speaking in tongues. This is in 1836. Yo, Longo, can you tell a story about Joseph Smith and the salamander or something like that? Yo, this freaking guy. The third time you've pissed already, bro? I haven't even seen you drink water.
Sorry, man. Your mom's real thirsty.
Yeah, I'm real thirsty. So funny, dude.
Can you imagine who was that little loser, that little hater's name from earlier? Can you imagine being that much of just a gay little loser?
A chode?
I've never even heard of you, bro.
He said that?
No
I wasn't even
idea.
reading, bro.
No idea who you are, and you're obsessed with me, trying to get my attention, obsessed with saying negative things.
Oh, he got it.
Imagine being that obsessed with someone that's just like desperate for attention. That I don't know, jealous. Is there something you're jealous of? Yeah, why do I look like I don't have eyebrows? Someone just. It's funny. This is the lights right here, I guess. But
It's Elliot James. It's one of my
yeah,
mods.
yeah, I'm missing my
It's
damn.
the lighting. It's the
Yeah,
lighting.
it's the light. It is the lighting. They're there, I promise. But
What? What? That people
uh,
watch us? Is that a bad thing?
yeah, don't talk shit about FNF, bro.
Am I missing something? Is there an inside joke?
I don't know. But all right. So basically, that's what I was gonna say. Imagine hating on us and we're just over here enjoying our night.
We're just
It's
over here
crazy.
talking about Enochian entities and stuff
That's
like that.
crazy. That's crazy. But so Enochian, now we're back to Joseph Smith, or now we're at Joseph Smith. Um, we've already talked about Enoch, Enochian. Did you guys know that Joseph Smith has a lot in common with John Dee? We talked about the simple names, the Christian, foundation, um, the interest in mysticism, and like, what's the word? Not scrying, but scrying's part of it. But
Prophesizing?
yeah, prophesying, divination, diviners, divinators, and okay, but John Dee talked to angels. What did the angels tell him to do? One of the things that he was told to do was to swap wives. Well, John Smith was told something. Joseph Smith was told something similar. Um, what's up with angels and polyamory? Well, ask Joseph Smith and John Dee. And then also, um, what else did they have in common? I think I read a list. They both received a language, a new language. So Joseph Smith received what he later called Reformed Egyptian. Can you search Reformed Egyptian?
Oh, yeah. I remember this.
So now we're getting to another language, artificial language, or
This? Yep.
Reformed Egyptian. Yep. What it looked like. Kind of like Enochian.
I don't know,
It's
dude. Do you know
it's
any
not.
Mormons?
I do, yeah.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but I think they're full of shit.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's
a
too
cult.
much. It's too much for you.
I think it's a bit much. Yeah, no. So
Yeah.
recently, one of my
But if
friends, his wife, I got mixed up because he's like, "Oh, she's a Jehovah's Witness," and I was like, "Oh, does she have magical underwear?" Because he's a Christian and she's a Jehovah's Witness. He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh, wait, those are the Mormons. Never mind."
yeah.
I got the two mixed up, but yeah, it's Freemasonry for the whole family is what they call it. Right? It's
Yeah.
very Freemasonic in
Yeah,
nature.
that part's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a Masonic religion. That's
Yeah,
one of the reasons Mormons have like a bad reputation is all the Mormons, or sorry, all the Freemasons in the world are pissed at Mormons for putting all their secrets out kind of more into the open, making a religion out of Masonry, but also welcoming women into a Freemasonic lodge is pretty much what Mormonism is. Um,
really.
they believe they're correcting Freemasonry, restoring it to its original perfect form. But before that, Joseph Smith, there's these golden plates that Joseph Smith discovers miraculously or is led to by an angel. He also has a shoe stone or like a little seer stone, a personal one that he uses. Um, he then uses like glasses. It's like glasses, and he has like a quartz glasses, and then a seer stone, and maybe one other thing. But he's got these articles or these instruments that he uses, like John Dee, to talk to an angel with a friend. He can't really do it by himself. He needs a friend or a scryer to kind of help him. Or I guess Joseph Smith would be the scryer himself, um, the clairvoyant himself, and then
Also, this is like a little breakdown. The discovery on September 22nd, 1823, an angel identified as Moroni directed Smith to a hill near his home in Manchester, New York. There, Smith claimed to find the plates buried in a stone box, though he was not allowed to take them. The retrieval in 1827, after returning annually as instructed, Smith was finally permitted to retrieve the heavy plates on September 2nd, 1827. So 4 years later. And then the translation, Smith claimed the plates contained ancient reformed Egyptian texts. He translated the writings into English using tools like a seer stone and the Urim and Thummim to
yep,
create the Book of Mormon, which he published in 1830. According to Smith, the golden plates were returned to the angel Moroni upon the completion of the translation and are no longer on earth. Right. How convenient. Again, I don't really know what the Book of Mormon says. I've never read it. I've never really looked into it, but I just seems a little sus to me. You know more about the Mormons than I do. Do
yeah,
they
they're
worship?
cool.
They're cool.
No, yeah, Mormons are awesome. Mormons are cool. They do most things better than most people. Like they know the Bible better than most Christians. Do better at tests. They do better on. They go to get better educations. Their families do better. They have higher IQ.
What?
They Yeah, Mormons. I mean, they're doing something right. You can't deny that.
What do you think it is?
Um, they love families, family life. They're passionate about their religion. They're engaged. Like the kids are interested in it most of the time. And I don't know. I mean, it's fresh. I think fresh ideas are valuable too. And it's uniquely American. So it connects America to the Bible, which I'm all about. I love that stuff. Not just arbitrarily, but it really, makes a case that basically Mormons believe ancient Israelites went to America and influenced the Native Americans and left their mark on America. They also believe that Jesus visited America during his resurrection or during his burial, like the 3 days that he was.
Is this fan fiction, bro? Is that what they're writing?
I mean, a little bit, kind of. But remember, we do know, at least I know, I'm convinced Israelites or Hebrews made it to America. Now, can we blame the Mormons for trying to come up with an explanation for that? Christopher Columbus believed the Garden of Eden was in America, and the Native Americans were, uh, descended from some biblical people, Israelites, someone. So Christopher Columbus believed something very similar. Joseph Smith comes around later, and many other people believed that too. E. Calloway believed the Garden of Eden was in Florida. So the Mormons believe the Garden of Eden's in America. We started out this show talking about how the Welsh believed their kind of Garden of Eden, Garden of Apples, the Otherworld was in America across the Atlantic. So we're seeing some synchronicities here. But what's really important is Joseph Smith claimed to, unearth this language in America, this alphabet language. Well, he called it Reformed Egyptian, and so many anti-Mormons and Joseph Smith haters say, well, that's a made-up religion. There's no such thing as Reformed Egyptian in America. Well, he called it Reformed Egyptian because it was not quite phonetic. It was more like hieroglyphic, where a word has a symbol instead of a letter. There were letters in it, but its main system was hieroglyphic, if I'm not mistaken.
Like that.
Yeah,
Like
so
this one?
reformed Egyptian, it's like hieroglyphs.
Mm-hmm.
And experts say it has no connection to Egyptian whatsoever, so he's just making shit up. Well, that is until we look at the Micmac language. Can you search Micmac
Ooh, the
language?
Micmacs.
Micmac, yeah. Bruh,
Yeah. This one?
same shit. Yeah.
Wait,
People,
so dude, what do you think? Do you think that they're that the
the
like people like Joseph Smith are hijacking this stuff, or do you think that like
no
are they tapping into the same thing? Like, what do you think?
tapping into, I'd more agree with. I think the Mormons took, or Joseph Smith. I think this is what I think happened. Joseph Smith knew that that the Americas had something to do with the Bible. He didn't know what. He knew that the Native Americans were in some way related to the Israelites or the Hebrews, that some Israelites came to America and left some mark, made some influence. He also thought, he also knew, perhaps from digging in graves and, mound digging, which is what he did as a young kid, growing up, teenager. He would treasure hunt, dig through mounds, try and find old artifacts. And he found all these things: old bones, giant bones, extinct animals. I think he knew that horses and elephants had lived in America before. So he knew there was all these extinct animals. So Joseph Smith, as a young boy with an imagination, he's digging through all these old mounds, finding all this stuff. And he comes up with this explanation. I think he tried to fill in all the gaps and say, well, no one's explained how these Israelites came to America. Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to explain. I kind of sympathize with the guy. I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with E. Calloway and the Garden of Eden and linking the Bible to America. Not just because, but because we think there's an actual link there. Joseph Smith was doing this, and I think he was doing his best to explain it. But yes, uh, venturing into the realm of like pure fiction and pure fantasy, or uh, there are bones and horses. There's bones of horses and elephants in America, but his timeline was like way off. That's what the experts say. So he's taking bits of truth, and the way he's filling in the gaps is from his imagination or his genius or his ability to mythologize, whatever you want to call it. Basically, yes, fan fiction on the Bible. He comes up, tries to explain this. How did they make it to America? Why are there Israelite uh, traits in Native Americans? And what he gets at is the Book of Mormon. But this language, did the language come out of thin air too? I think he may have seen that language or had come into contact with it and tried to frame it in his own way. The Micmac, by the way, Micmac kind of sounds pretty Welsh or Celtic, doesn't it? Micmac, right? Madoc, Mac, Mick, McDonald's, MacGregor, Micmac. They're like Celtic almost. And the Micmac tribe are the Native Americans who have the longest record of visitors. They are most aware of all the visitors who've came to America. So the Micmac tribe says, their flag is like a Templar flag. It's they the Micmacs say that they remember the Vikings coming, they remember the Templars coming, they remember the Welsh, the Basque, Portuguese. They say, oh yeah, we know all this, we know all these people. We've been
Oh,
here all
shout out
along.
Old World Micmac too, by the way. Is he still
Yeah,
around?
shout out to Old World Micmac. He's in the chat a lot of the time. Great guy. Good research. But Micmac, their language, they actually had a language. So Sequoia invented the Cherokee syllabary, but allegedly the Micmac language or alphabet had already been there. They've had it the whole time. So search Micmac alphabet, please. So the Micmac
No,
alphabet.
Micmac is spelled like that, not like how I was spelling it.
The same shit, whatever. Fucking. if
So disrespectful, bro.
if
I wish-
if they don't act right, I'm gonna call them the fucking Big Mac tribe. How about that?
All right, which one out of all these? You see, like, there's this.
Just
There's
search. I don't know. Is there a Wikipedia for it? Micmac
Yeah.
alphabet.
Micmac language.
Maybe the
Micmac.
alphabet's on there.
Micmac.
Yeah, there it is.
The Bible in Micmac language, 1863. Oh,
Writing system, yeah.
Nagasi.
Man, we could use some Nagasi signs and Naga. Hang on. Naga, see that stop sign over there? I don't know. Y'all Naga, see that stop sign over? I don't know. Never mind.
It says the Micmac. Here, I just had it. Sample text of Micmac
Yeah, zoom in.
hieroglyphic script.
Let people see it, what it looks like. It really does look Egyptian.
So
looks
one
like-
symbol means
It literally looks like a mix between Egyptian and John Dee's Enochian.
yeah, that one especially right here.
Yep, they
Look
look
at that.
Enochian.
Yeah.
Now, they've been using this language for a long time. See if you can. I'm going to search. How old is Mick?
I wonder what the Timucuan used. Did they have an alphabet?
Micmac hieroglyphs. They have their own Wikipedia. Mi'kmaq hieroglyphs. Yeah, try. Yeah, guys, let's watch Juan try and spell hieroglyph.
Yeah, it's been a long day, bro.
You
Shut your
wanna
mouth.
And entertaining.
Shut your ass up, bro. I was hoping you didn't catch that. This one I hear.
Dude, why? Okay, call me crazy, call me a pervert, call me a fucking weirdo.
Dude.
Why do half of these look like fucking dildos?
Like dicks, right?
Why do
Yeah,
half of these? Why do these look like suction cup ding dongs?
Just be professional, bro. Why do you have to? You're a scholar. You can't be put. Yeah, they all do. Yeah, a lot of dicks here. Look, this one's jizzing, bro. Look at that. Right here. Here's the shit. It's been a long day, bro. Oh man.
Is that deli? That's some deli meat, bro.
That's what-
Zoom in on that deli meat.
Got that foot long for you.
Zoom in
Oh,
on
man.
deli so you can see deli.
Bro. This is not
Next
good.
time, Shoddy ask what you pack and just say you got that deli on you.
Got that Micmac deli on me, girl. Oh my goodness, dude.
That quarter pounder with
This guy, all this meat combo got me hungry. Oh, I gotta stop, dude. All right. So we got the wiener alphabet over here with the Micmac.
got that deli meat.
This guy was probably trolling them too. Okay. All right, let's get serious.
So now search Micmac versus Egyptian. You can see I don't think that's the whole like alphabet too. There's others that literally look like birds, like exactly like Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Which one do I go to?
So basically, this is what we're trying to get at. John or Joseph Smith probably didn't come up with this language. It was probably just Micmac or some variation or something related to Micmac, which looked like Egyptian. So Joseph Smith called it Egyptian because that's what it looked like. He saw some birds and like a boomerang or whatever, Egyptian kangaroos. And then or I said kangaroo. I
Oh,
didn't
right
mean to
here.
say
Look at
that.
this.
So whatever's Egyptian, like Egyptian animals. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And basically, yeah, there's ancient Egyptian on the left. There's Micmac on the right. So Joseph Smith was on to something. Okay, he may have overstated his claims or
What the
over
hell?
exaggerated, embellished a little too much. But
Here we
right
go.
there.
Here.
So basically, some of these Native American languages may literally have came from angels or demons, not the white man. The white man may have helped some of these tribes like write this stuff down on paper for the first time, but yeah,
This one here is kind of creepy, where it's like very similar,
yeah,
almost like did because isn't there talks, or I know for a fact there's talks of a was it a no Egyptians making it to Australia or something? Have you seen that?
yeah, I've heard of that.
Have you heard of like the Egyptian temples that they supposedly found at the Grand Canyon and they covered it up by the Smithsonian
Yeah, we
and
got
all
a
that
book on
stuff?
we got a book on that.
Yeah. So it's like, what if these people came over and like they were just passing it on? And it
Yeah,
kind of plays into what you always talk about, like the Fertile Crescent was actually in the Gulf of Mexico and
yeah.
not where the mainstream says,
Well, here's
right?
what's crazy. Okay, with this, we're trying to like connect things that maybe or maybe aren't connected. There's
Look at
certainly,
this. It's like super. There's no way this like matches up
yeah,
that hard, bro.
but um, we're trying to establish connections between these. There's no like totally official connection. Um, before we get too far away from Joseph Smith and John Dee, can you just keyword search Joseph Smith, John Dee? Many people have tried to point out how many similarities they have in common, but something crazy is some people say Joseph Smith actually plagiarized John Dee. Now, this is a controversy too, but people think Joseph Smith may have scroll down, just scroll down a little. Keep going. That one.
This one?
Wait, no, keep you. Oh, sorry, one more down, one more.
This
Yep, that one. Yeah,
this one?
yep. Did Joseph Smith plagiarize John Dee's The Secret Book of Madoc?
What?
Yep, zoom in so people can see it. So basically, people think that people think Joseph Smith took John Dee's story of Madoc taking a tribe. It's literally like the same story. So Prince Madoc, his family was arguing. There was a dispute in the kingdom, and he left because he didn't want to deal with the family drama and the political unrest. In Mormonism, they say that Lehi and his family left the Middle East for almost the same reason. And zoom in there, these quotes are kind of misattributed. So people debate whether Joseph Smith ever actually, or whether John Dee ever actually wrote that. But the stories are very close. And allegedly in the Book of Mormon, not allegedly, this is true. In the Book of Mormon, Nephi writes, I, Nephi, being born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father. There I make a record of the proceeding of my days. Now, the second quote, which is attributed to John Dee, although, this is like a kind of a dubious quote. Nearly identical, though, says, I, Madoc, born of goodly parents, was taught somewhat in the learning of my father. Nevertheless, have seen many afflictions. Therefore, I make a record in my day as a vagabond upon the face of the earth. So, very similar, you know. Joseph Smith reached out to the Middle East and borrowed a concept and transplanted it to his own homeland or to this new land to give his movement more like credibility, like authority. That's kind of what John Dee did. He didn't live in America, but he wanted America to belong to Britain. And he reached and he took kind of some of his old favorite stories and attached that. And I'm not saying he wasn't valid, but I'm saying the parallel is this, that he kind of cast that onto this land. The story of someone sailing there, you know, therefore making it important or relevant to us because, you know, our ancestors or our old, you know, forefathers from the Bible, whatever. So there is a big parallel there. People debate whether John Dee ever actually wrote that or what. But a lot of anti-Mormons use this as like evidence. Oh, clearly Joseph Smith was just another John Dee wannabe, you know. Yeah, they list the links there between them, you know, scrying, polygamy, a council of 12 was something that allegedly they both had. And Joseph Smith's interest in the occult also stemming back to in part John Dee and his disciples or whatever. But all right,
Did he try to
that's like
resurrect his brother? Is that something that happened?
I don't remember. I don't know. But so John Dee and Joseph Smith had quite a bit in common. But what's crazy is going back to Cherokee and Enochian, the Cherokee syllabary. Search that Cherokee syllabary, please.
Cherokee. How do you spell it?
SYLL.
Slower.
Yeah.
Which one?
Just go to the Wikipedia for it, please. So this one was created by a guy recently. Some oral traditions say that the alphabet was always there. That was just recently written down on like paper, kind of standardized. But Sequoia is credited with creating this. Sequoia was also an interesting guy, but basically, we're trying to, we were just talking about how Enochian kind of looks like Cherokee. They have at least 3 letters or characters in common. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot because Cherokee's recently created, and some of the Cherokee letters, were borrowed from Greek and English, and so we shouldn't be too surprised if that looks like something, But Enochian is not related to anything, so if it looks like something else, that is worth something. Now, the grand finale that kind of ties this all together. Enochian, Cherokee. Enochian, Cherokee. Enochian, Cherokee. What's the connection? Is it just these letters kind of look alike? Well, on my channel, I've already talked about the Enochian calendar. Enoch calendar. Did you guys know? What's the Enochian calendar? It's this biblical calendar that's different than the Hebrew calendar that Jesus probably preferred because the Essenes, who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, who John the Baptist and Jesus probably emerged out of an Essene type of Judaism. The Essenes used the 364-day calendar. They believed it was the Enochian calendar gifted to Enoch by the angel who? Uriel. That's right. Uriel, same angel we mentioned earlier, gave Enoch this calendar. The angels are clear that they prefer the 364-day calendar. They hate the 354 calendar. They wanted mankind to use 364. So, in the book of Enoch and I think in Jubilees it comes up, the angels are telling mankind, stop using your guys' corrupt calendar. It doesn't even work. The lunar calendar, stop staring at the moon. You're just worshiping the moon, you're just fixating on one part of it. Focus on the big picture a little. The solar calendar. Earth, it's not totally solar, but 364 days. That's what the Essenes used. That's what they used for all their holidays and their prophecy. And this is Jesus's community. Jesus's community did not observe Judaism the same way that the Jews in the city did in Jerusalem. Okay, they didn't do the Passover lamb. They didn't celebrate Passover even on the same day as the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The Essene calendar is the Enoch calendar, and the Essenes were the only ones trying to keep it alive because the Jews kept going back to the Hebrew calendar, the lunar calendar, or lunisolar. Well, guys, have you ever heard of the turtle shell calendar, the tortoise shell calendar, also known as the Cherokee calendar? Search Cherokee calendar. Cherokee calendar. Yep.
Boom.
Turtle shell calendar is the Cherokee calendar. It is the exact same calendar. 13 times 28 equals 364. Now hang on.
Whoa.
Whoa, hang on. Whoa, hang on. All eyes and ears on screen, okay? Someone just said 13 times 28. Yes, the math is correct. The math is right. But the moon thing is not correct, okay? So someone said this. I know what you meant. 13 times 28, 364. Yes, you're right. The math is correct on this. But the moon has nothing to do with this. So this is the psyop, guys. Sorry, Juan. There we go. $364, 13 times 28. Guys, I want to tell you how bad the propaganda and the brainwashing and the parroting that goes on, where people just repeat what they hear. Someone sends them this reel where it's like, the real calendar is this. And it's some fucking fat dude on his couch pointing to someone else talking. They're talking. It's someone else. Someone off screen is like Juan's talking, and Juan's like, the Essenes used a 364-day calendar. It's 13 moons, 28. It's perfect. And then this fat little loser is just like pointing to someone else talking. All these people just repeat bullshit. They never check it for themselves. 13 times 28 is 364, but it has nothing to do with the moon. Nothing. Not even in the slightest. Nothing to do with the moon. 13 times 28, 364, nothing to do with the moon. They tell everyone that's a lunar calendar. All these Instagram posts, all these memes about the turtle shell calendar, the perfect calendar. It's the perfect system. They disconnected us from God's perfect calendar. No, people are just too fucking stupid to use it. And that's been going on for thousands of years since Enoch was getting told this by Uriel. Nothing to do with the moon. The Jewish calendar is the lunar calendar. 354 days, so 354. That's lunar calendar. 364 is not even solar. 364 has no basis in astronomy whatsoever. Unless we're adding one day, making it 365, that's a solar year. 364 has no basis in astronomy whatsoever. It's not the moon. Nothing to do with the moon phases, nothing to do with the full moon, none of that. That is purely what you've heard on Instagram, purely what you've seen on little memes and little whiny little, they took our calendar away from us. 364, the basis of it is the 7-day week of creation. The 364-day calendar, its main function is to keep the days of the week in order so that every month starts on the same day of the week. And every year starts on the same day of the week. So the days of the week aren't just arbitrarily cycling through the year. Like, it's May 15th right now, which is Friday, but next year, May 15th will be whatever day, random, In this system, God's, week, the Sabbath, 7-day cycle, comes it's at the forefront. You can't divide your months and your years into anything other than 7-day weeks. So it's nice and smooth, and it's there for what would you call it? Liturgical consistency or something like that. It's there to preserve the 7-day week, which we still have. It's just it's cycling arbitrarily, through our calendar. The week has nothing to do with the calendar today. That wasn't the case back then. Now, not all turtle shells have 13 times 28 on them. In fact, it's only some of them that have this. But yeah, so there's 28 small scoots on the rim, on the outer rim, and there's 13 larger scoots on the inside. 28 on the rim times 13 in the middle. That's 364. It just has nothing to do with the moon. So anyone who says this is God's perfect lunar calendar, wrong, idiot. But
and then we can bring that back to Florida with because you said the gopher tortoise has this, right?
Yep.
And it's interesting because the gopher tortoise is known, what we were talking about earlier, as what they call it, an engineer. It's a keystone species.
Oh yeah, dude, that's another show that we have to do, is just on the terms keystone species.
Yeah,
because it's a Masonic thing. The keystone, the arch, the head of the arch, the archstone, keystone.
Well, so this is the
cornerstone.
gopher tortoise in Florida, right? You got the gopher wood, and this particular tortoise, it burrows into the ground, and one of the things that it helps with is its burrows shelter other animals.
Yeah.
And protect other species. So, and the thing about this particular tortoise, bro, because in construction you have to do wetland delineations and things like that, and the whole environment, blah blah blah.
Yeah, all that dumb fucking shit.
All
yeah.
that dumb stuff.
Yeah, I wish we just if only we can just get away from all that dumb nature shit. And
yeah, who cares about that?
Just go back to the real world of fucking rice and beans and construction jobs.
These gopher tortoises are super protected, and if you find one of these tortoises, it's really expensive to get rid of. Not get rid of it, but what they call relocating it. It's like $12,000 per gopher tortoise, and you have to be certified. and everything because they are, I believe they're endangered, and yeah, they're super important to the environment because they protect other species. And again, it goes back to the gopher wood, which is found in Florida, which is found, well, the FAG area, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the gopher wood, the
Yeah.
Noah's
And
Ark.
so the gopher Noah's Ark was built out of gopher wood, and no one's ever been able to figure out where gopher wood grows. At least not in Eurasia. In America, though, we know exactly where gopher wood grows. It grows along the Appalachian River, the Apalachicola River, where the Appalachian Indians used to live, for which the Appalachian Mountains were named. Only along that little river does gopher wood grow. Now, gopher tortoises are found all over Florida, but nowhere. It's the only tortoise east of the Mississippi and the only land turtle in Florida, I believe. It's named for uh, half of its name comes from a giant. So the two guys who named the gopher tortoise, the guy who gave it the name gopher, believe,
Gopherus.
uh, William Bartram named it. He named it for a Indian word. The Indians called it gopher, and gopher means like to dig or to excavate, and that's why gophers are called gophers and gopher tortoises are called gophers because they both dig. So that's they dig, they burrow, they make these big holes. Now, gopher wood, gopher tortoise. Well, what does this have to do with Noah's Ark? Well, aside from being built from gopher wood, what does gopher mean? We don't really know. You know, the Native American meaning is like digging or excavating. But well, as far as what it meant back then, we don't really know. But there's the gopher tortoise has some connection. We don't know exactly what. It's going to be in my book though. If you want to buy the book
Oh,
in the beginning,
this guy, bro.
gopher wood. We don't know what it means, but there's the gopher tree, there's the gopher tortoise, there's a couple other species, the gopher fly, the gopher beetle, that live in Florida. So it's a muskogee word, gopher. And don't believe this fake news about the French waffle, fucking blue waffle in French, whatever. Okay, gopher
Bro,
is an
French
Indian word.
settlers.
No, muskogee Indian word. That's why there's a whole fucking family of Seminole Indians called Gopher Tom, Gopher Steve, Gopher, whole fucking family called with the Gopher, like the Gopher clan. Okay,
Gopher schlong.
that's an Indian word. Don't let these fucking fake etymology sites tell you anything. By the way, I'm right. This is not a conspiracy theory. Search keyword search Gopher and Muskogee. You'll see what I mean. This is the actual etymology of gopher. It's a Muskogee word.
Muskegee. How do you spell it?
Musk, Muskogee.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Gopher King LLC, bro.
your
No.
fucking chat GPT's fried, dude. You've been pumping so much cartoon porn out of your chat GPT. This thing's fried.
What smell do gophers hate the most? Castor oil, peppermint oil, and coffee grounds. Gophers. We want to get rid of gophers. Castor oil, bro. You know,
Interesting. We'll
you know
search
you can.
Muskogean, maybe. Put AN at the end of there.
Here?
Yeah. Yeah, see if that pulls up something. Why is it saying king? Yeah, just search whatever.
What are we looking for?
Well, you challenged me that it's not Muskogee or that it's French or something, and
No,
you had the wrong etymology up on screen,
I
which
trust.
was
No, that was just Edem online, bro. That was
yeah, but well, still it was contradicting me, and I just
just
want
a
to
regular
show.
guy, just researching stuff, bro.
If you search Muskogean, you spell it right. Gopher, or just search is
This one?
gopher of Muskogee.
Right here, this one. The word gopher likely originates from Muskegean, source specifically related to Choctaw term kofusa, which means a hollow or an excavation. This term likely referred to burrowing habits of the animal, possibly starting as gopher or referring to the gopher tortoise or being applied to pocket gophers. And that is found here, American Heritage Dictionary.
So gophers only live in America. So when the Bible says gopher wood, that does not mean like rodent wood or the pocket gopher. You know,
So
they
wait, you
didn't.
think that Noah's Ark came from the Americas and landed over in Turkey then over there?
Yeah.
Or is it fake news?
Yeah. No, that's true. Noah's Ark was made of gopher wood from Florida, sailed to Eurasia,
Noah
and
was
then
Floridian, bro? That's crazy.
and he built the ark out of gopher wood that only grows along the Apalachicola River, which is probably the original Garden of Eden, and land of apples, the Welsh Otherworld. You know, everyone used to know about Florida back then. Everyone. And gopher wood, blah blah blah. But what does the gopher tortoise actually have to do with gopher wood and Noah's Ark? Like, you know, why the wood, the tortoise? What do they have to do with each other? Well, the Juan kind of talked about this a little bit already. The gopher tortoise does for other species what Noah's Ark did for the animals back then. The gopher tortoise builds its burrow, and it provides refuge for hundreds and hundreds of different species. If you want to get real fucking schizo, you want to know how many species exactly? Between 350 and 370, which is 364. Okay.
I was gonna say
Between 350 and 370 species.
you couldn't help yourself, huh?
How many days did Noah spend on the ark? Between 350 and 370? That's how many days Noah spent on the ark. That's how many species the gopher tortoise protects in its ark, its little underground refuge, kind of like an ark. And it's got a fucking calendar on its back. The thing's got a calendar on its back. So when Noah's building the ark out of gopher wood, I don't know what the wood has to do with the turtle, but I know that the tortoise has a fucking calendar on its back. That's the same amount of days Noah was on the ark, the same amount of species that the gopher tortoise protects. And that's the calendar that the angels are trying to tell humanity to use over the faulty lunar calendar. So I'm still working to connect the wood and the turtle as firmly as possible, but I think those are already some good connections.
You seen the videos of people trying to save like tortoises and they just throw them in the water? Like, yeah, I saved this little guy from the road.
Yeah.
They just chuck it into the lake.
Well, here, since we're on that, okay, yes, most tortoises do drown, and gopher tortoises can drown too. But in salt water, just like humans, they can float a lot better. Can you search gopher tortoise float hurricane? Just that. Gopher tortoise float hurricane. And maybe we're gonna find another link to the Garden of Eden, or sorry, to Noah's Ark. Now go scroll down a little bit.
This one?
Yeah, scroll down. Yeah. Yeah, clip that one. Yeah, that one's good.
Whoa.
Bruh.
A hurricane.
Dozens. These bitches can survive floods, dude. Yeah, tortoises usually do sink.
Oh, see, so I was thinking about that. I said, how I was like, Narco, you're full of shit, because if Noah, God flooded the earth, then what would have happened to the tortoises? They would have drowned. Like, they wouldn't be around for him to look at the calendar, and they float.
Yeah. Well, something. I mean, they are pretty good at surviving storm surges. I I wrote down like as many of those stories as I could in my in the book that I'm working on, where it says, or they talk about these hurricanes coming and blowing all these tortoises off their island to another island, and instead of like uh, being devastated by it, their population explodes, and it's like the best thing that ever happened to them. So there's something to
Whoa.
this. The gopher
Look at that show.
tortoise, yeah. And then okay, and then you know, so we're talking about how the Cherokee calendar and the Enoch calendar are like the same thing. But did you know that most of the Indians of the eastern United States literally have a Noah's Ark story, and that they call that Noah like Nana, like super close to Noah? Look it up. Native American Noah or something like that.
Flood story?
No, just search Noah. We want to see who they're. It's like his name's like
Right here.
Nana.
Qatar, Qataristan.
No, no, no. That's
North
Apache.
America.
That's west. That's too far west. We're talking about the eastern Indians. Just search Nana right after
Nana?
Noah. Yes, Noah and then Nana.
Is that
It's like Nanu or Nuna or something like that.
based on the Native American Noah Nana historical Apache leader?
Okay, hang on.
Oh, bro, you gotta fire up your AI over there. Your AI is a little bit more conspiracy based than mine.
Okay, Nata. His name was Nata and his wife was Nana. So search the same thing but say Nata instead of Nana. Yeah,
Nata, you know?
yeah. Nata and his wife Nana.
Nana, that one?
Nata and yeah, Nana or Nana. I was right. Just say I was right, Juan.
You
Just say it. It's okay. Just once.
you were right.
Yeah,
Narco, you're right.
that's right. Tango
Fuck.
Verdad.
Shut
Puta.
the fuck up is what you need to do.
Tango. Tango Verdad. Puta.
Along with a wife who survived a great flood, often by hollowing out a cypress tree. So this one changes. It's not gopher wood, it's just cypress tree, bro. It was
Yep.
specifically from Aztec tradition compared to
Okay. Now, what about all the other traditions of a tortoise or a turtle, humanity being saved on the back of a turtle?
there's a few.
Yeah. Native American, that's a big thing. Search like Turtle Island or Turtle Flood story.
There wasn't there. Oh, no, wait, so the Turtle
Yep.
Island flood is a central creation myth for many indigenous peoples, particularly the Anishinaabe, where a massive flood covers the world and a brave muskrat secures a tiny piece of dirt from the bottom. What? The turtle sacrifices its back to hold this soil, which grows into a new earth. North
Yeah.
America.
So all these different tribes in the eastern United States have various, versions of this turtle story, where the whole world is built on the back of a turtle shell. But many of them have to do with the flood. So the world is like destroyed in a flood or like recreated, renewed,
Mm-hmm.
and humanity is saved by clinging to the back of a turtle through the flood. How close is that to the Noah's Ark story? And I think that takes us one step closer to understanding the connection between gopher wood, the gopher tortoise, and Noah's Ark. But
Yeah, it said the gopher tortoise goes back 60 million years. Is that what it said? It's crazy,
sounds
bro.
sounds about right. But how
Um,
crazy is that? Cherokee calendar is the same as the Enoch calendar. The Cherokee syllabary may have a lot in common with the Enochian alphabet. John Dee was kind of using, you know, John Dee was linking the British to America. Joseph Smith was linking the Israelites to America. Whatever. All these parallels.
Thank God for John Dee, right?
Kinda. I don't know. I think he was a cool guy.
If we wouldn't have got cucked, we wouldn't be here right now, dude. We'd be speaking French.
For real.
Bro, we were supposed to only do 2 hours. We're 3 hours in.
That's all right. It was a good one. You got had 500 in the chat for most of the stream.
I have a job that I have to be at tomorrow, so that's. I don't know if you know what that is. You know what a job is?
Yeah, you can actually see my job behind me, where yours is just some shit we always hear about, and we don't ever see it until we go to the local strip mall or something and see a new parking lot or something.
That's right.
See, this is what my job. This is what my job looks like, and your job looks like your favorite park getting bulldozed.
Killing gopher tortoises.
Yeah.
Park stuff on there. Yeah.
Mi trabajo es aquí.
Shut up before I call ice on you, bro.
Tu trabajo. How do we say this?
Not even Mexican, bro. Oh man.
Yeah, Juan's too tall to be a Mexican.
Yeah, I'm from the island of trash, aka Puerto Rico. But let's get out of here, bro. It's late. It's a good chat.
Here, let me pull up some outro music. All right, man. Guys, everyone go subscribe to Juan on Juan if you haven't already. Wish him, let him know how you feel about his return, how grateful you are.
I hated it.
Yeah, I know.
I'll be gone for another 10 or 12 months. So.
Well, that's all right. Tell the people what you got going on this week, Juan.
What do I got going on this week?
Yup. Wild Indian, yeah.
Hey, V, line them up.
I'm a wild Indian, you know I go crazy. Ain't really Indian, that boy fugazi. I just keep it player, you can never play me. You got an ass so fat, girl, let's make a baby. And another one. Then I'm back to the trap, I'm trying to double some. She a bad woke chick and I love her tongue. We some jurisdiction boys, we some one-on-ones. Look, don't compare me to no Martin dog, I'm like Malcolm X. Die by our freedom, we'll leave a crack and stretch. Round of applause, boy, you know we clapping. Text, Chucky dog, child play, yeah, nigga, that's what's next. Open up the cans just like Arizona. Pull up masked up like we got the Rona. We set up jurisdictions when we buy the corner. How you claiming that's your hood and you not the owner? B to B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. Whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep a Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the shit.
Like my niggas said, bitch, we the shit. I can't keep the peace. If it pop off, then I want a piece. I'm just on release. I'm in go mode, motherfuck the thief. In these streets like EBT, when we at war, make peace with me. I don't give a damn, understand. Fuck who stole this land, white or black or tan. Understand, it's fuck who stole this land. Might have seen me get little buddy these hands. He wasn't no abo man. A lot of these dudes is Sambo man. They full of shit like my ammo can. What they call an N-word out the wrong mouth as an ambulance. Wild Indian, get it in advance, or you can post date it. Ask around, I'm the most hated. Straight sacred, they stole acreage. Yo, ape shit, show ain't shit. It won't be televised, I don't tape shit.
B to B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep a Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the sheep.